Good morning, beautiful people. It is June 10th, and there's a lot to talk about.
What?
Okay? The MLB and the MLBPA are still at a stalemate. They're staring at each other's swords saying, we're not fighting at all. They aren't even countering the proposals that are being offered from the other side. And we are getting to the 11th hour here, I believe, last week. Things have to happen in the MLB and the MLBPA for them to have a season, a shortened season, a prorated salary season, whatever it's going to potentially be or not be. There's not a lot of movement happening in negotiations. So talk with us about that today. In about 14 minutes, Jet Passan.
Yeah!
Jet Passan will be joining us in about 15 minutes. Good voice for baseball, that guy. He's smart. He's entertaining. He understands what he's talking about and how he's talking about it. I like Jet Passan a lot, but we got a lot of questions. Because after talking to Uke yesterday, Uke said that if it's not 80 games, let's not even talk about it. And the MLB owners haven't been anywhere near 80 games in any of their proposals. Is it going to be a gold-fashioned standoff? Sure feels like it. Or are we going to be playing baseball for the Yankees this year? Potentially. Fight Island has been announced. Congratulations to Dana White for making Island fights happen. And the naming Fight Island is, although just a rebrand of previous fights that they've had there, there's going to be 4 fights. July 11th, fight nights. July 11th, July 15th, July 18th, and July 25th. From Abu Dhabi, Abu Dhabi in the United Arab Emirates at Yas Island. And the fight cards from the people that watch the MMA on a regular basis, from the people that watch UFC on a regular basis, they say that fight cards kind of weak, they're saying. Kind of weak, which is why they announced the same day that they rolled out these fights, they announced that Cormier and Stipe will be fighting on August 15th, not on an island, probably in a 25-foot octagon back here stateside, because the time they had the 25-foot octagon this past weekend, there was little human cockfighters knocking faces off of people because it's a more condensed area, which means there's more action, there's more fighting. It's in the basement of the UFC complex at the moment, but they'll probably move it back to arenas at some point. If you have a smaller octagon, what's that mean? More chairs for around the octagon. Oh, and what are those chairs? Those are the VIP chairs that are closest to the fight. I want to get blood on me. I want to get spit on me. Damn it, I'll take a tooth on my face. I'm going to pay $17,000 for this. That happens in real life. That happens for the UFC. And after watching it here for the last couple of weeks during this quarantine when sports are gone and UFC made a comeback, I can understand why people get into it. Whenever another human walks into that cage and is attempting to kill another human, there's just something about that that's so pure that you can't help but respect, and especially whenever you got guys like the Sugar Sean and Sugar Show just delivering massive rights to a suckhole and then walking it off. And then Handsome Cody, whatever his name is, he comes back from a hiatus after getting knocked out a bunch of times, knocks somebody out. I think the UFC is in a very good spot. I think when they sold the UFC for whatever it was, $4 billion or $5 billion or whatever the hell it was, there was a lot of questions on whether or not the UFC would be able to survive. Had the people who bought the UFC bought it at the wrong time? Did you miss when the UFC was really in its big boom? Because at the time, the fights weren't drawing as much attention. There wasn't that stuff. Now, Dana White's big-ass brain has figured out a way, alongside fighters that are charismatic and entertaining, has brought UFC back in a big way. Big way. The ESPN partnership was a good idea. The fact that the NHL doesn't have an ESPN partnership is tough for the NHL to survive because nobody really knows about it, because even though ESPN might be behind on some things, they might not be as free as the internet is to talk about stuff. If you have rights with ESPN, you're seen by people, because what you do is you wake up, you turn on ESPN if you're a sports fan. And I think that move for the UFC was great, brought a lot of attention. Now this Fight Island rebranding is bringing a lot of attention. The 25-foot cage did. It feels like the UFC is really on a warpath right now to the top. You got to give a lot of congrats to Dana White for doing that. Dana White has spearheaded this entire thing, and I think the only people that don't give him credit are Darren Ravel, who he saw down once before, and currently Dan Le Batard, who is potentially going to fight Dana White for $250,000 to charity. So other than that, I think the UFC is off and running. Fight Island, the fights, I guess, if you're a casual fan, you don't know any of the fighters like me, and if you're an actual UFC fan, you're thinking, oh, this isn't the best lineup. I would assume what happened is Dana had to do 4 events at Yas Island for Fight Island, and he said, all right, we'll do 11th, 15th, 18th, and 25th of July. We'll get our fighters in there, bingo, bango. And if our fans aren't that pumped up about it, we will also announce that our 2 best heavyweights, basically, of the last 10 years or whatever, are going to fight each other as well. I like Cormier, by the way. He's good at commentating.
Yeah, he is.
He's very good at speaking. I don't know how old the guy is. I don't think I've seen him age in the last. He's always looked like he's 50 years old.
To look at him and be
I think
like,
he's
a
over
good
40,
fighter.
yeah.
He walked. I told you the one time where I was in Jay Glazer's gym out in L.A., and it was a very interesting gym setup. I thought it was going to be a bunch of BS. I was like, I'm not going there. One of my friends was working there. One of my college roommates was working at the gym, and I was in LA, and he was like, come get a workout, man, or whatever. I was like, I'm not going in that gym. I know what I'm not going in that gym. Like, that's a place that people, like, if I'm going to work out, I need to work out either alone or at a place where people are trying to be like meatheads at. Like, that's just what I need in the gym, because if it is a social session, I'm going to do nothing. Like, I am going to talk to everybody. That is what I'm going to do. Oh, what's going on? Let's do it. And I was like, I can't do it. Then my friend Tripp was like, okay, well, get a workout in before, and then we can do a little bit more if you want to come, because it probably will be a social session, because you'll see people in here that you don't normally see or whatever. I was like, okay, sounds good. And I decided not to work out before. I said, I'll just come get a workout in there. I am an adult enough and mature enough that I can go in there and not deal with everybody else, and I can just work out. So I get there. Glazer's shooting a reality show. There's no music allowed on. You're not allowed to speak. You're not allowed to do anything. And I'm just talking massive amounts of trash to my... I was like, this isn't even a gym. This is a movie set that you guys are shooting things on. This is all trash or whatever. Jay Glazer, like 4 minutes after that, cuts it off. He was actually announcing, I think, the Merging Vets and Players Foundation, where he's trying to save the world, right? So I was completely wrong for being like, wow, I can't believe this is happening here. Then they turned on the music. People started lifting in there. And it was the first time I was ever lifting around, like, top level humans from other sports, right? So there was like, I think there was an NBA guy in there, in this backside, because he has a cage over there, there was this round guy that was wearing a shirt that says like, I break bones or something like that, right? And I had partied with John Bones Jones like maybe the 2 weeks before that. So I was a big John Bones Jones guy at the guy. I'm like, hey, I drank and partied with this guy. And he's better than everybody else at fighting. This is going to be my guy. Like, John Bones Jones is my guy. So I go out to this gym, and it says, like, I break bones or whatever. And I'm like, well, who's the fat guy over there that's talking about my guy, right? And my friend Tripp was like, don't say that. Don't say what you just said. And I was like, who's the middle-aged looking man over there who wants to say that he can beat up my guy? And he was like, don't say what you just said. That guy could beat you up so fast. It would be an absolute show for all the people in here. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, that's Daniel Cormier. And I Googled it, and I was like, that is that guy. And then there were some videos. I was like, damn, that guy, he's a stud. He's like 40 years old at this point, still is in shape enough to do it. And he does not have your classic ripped, shredded, because you think wrestlers, they got to run so much, you got to do all this. He's relatable. He's very good at what he does. He's a good commentator. And I almost got my ass beat by him one time. So I think that I'm a Cormier guy. I am now a Cormier guy. But him fighting Stipe is a big deal. Stipe and I crowd surfed in Columbus together at College Game Day. He's also a very good man. And I saw the way somebody wrote that fight up. They're saying, like, who's going to be the best heavyweight of this generation? You win, you can say that. You lose, you can't. I think that is quite a billing, by the way. Yeah, here it is. Lifetime bragging rights. Winner is the best heavyweight of his era. Loser is not. Doesn't get bigger than that, says Brett Okamoto. He's big-time MMA writer.
Yeah, I think he's like number 2 behind Helwani at ESPN.
Hey, Ariel Helwani, by the way, he takes some heat from some people on the internet. We did that interview with him the other day. Great conversation. I enjoyed having a conversation. He even get a little back and forth, with which I very much enjoy when that happens. And there were some people tweeting like, oh, that guy's a snake or whatever. I'm like, Ariel Helwani's, I feel like he knows everything. And the guy literally, whenever he posts something, just like when Jeff Passan talks, when Ariel Helwani posts something, I'm like, that guy's the authority on stuff. You can only trust a few things on your Twitter feed. And once you deem somebody something on your Twitter feed, it's like, okay, when I need to learn about this, I'm going to this. When I need to learn about baseball, I'm going to Jeff Passan. If I need to learn about the MMA, I'm currently going to Ariel Helwani. I think a lot of people are doing that. But there's other people, I guess, in this world who hadn't got the push to ESPN that were the independent MMA covers, which I guess Ariel Helwani was at one point, and then he got pushed up to ESPN because he was so good at what he did. There's other people, I think, that very much don't like that he got the push to ESPN and they did not.
It happens.
Into that, that's just the way the world works. You think I'm happy with the people that get hired over me? You can't. Hey, I'm not. Got to ask for permission to speak sometimes. That's just not that was a tough go for me. So I understand your anger, but it's not Ariel's fault.
No.
That's not his fault that he got pushed up there. It's just like Aaron Rodgers, Jordan Love. Take it easy on the guy. You know what I mean?
Hey, listen, I respect Jordan Love, all right? I'm not going after him.
It's not about Jordan Love.
It's not about Jordan Love.
All the boys are here, by the way, at Nick Moraldo, wearing an incredible shirt. I heard that movie's going to make you vomit if you watch it because Tom Cruise put the cameras on fighter planes, and you're basically in the cockpit feeling G-forces at the house. Is that accurate?
It's a race to see what happens first. Will I puke first, or will I ejaculate in my own pants first watching that movie?
Probably the same
Top Gun,
time.
that is.
Best case scenario, same time.
True.
At Tone Diggs. At Ty Schmidt is here. Jason McAfee's here. At Viva Lazito is here. And yesterday, a very fun fact hit the internet. The Detroit Lions have won one playoff game since 1960. Foxy, that has to just be visual representation of your sorrow for being a fan of a team that is in your city where you grew.
Yeah, what a little fun fact by CBS Sports, Pat. You want to talk about loyalty? The Detroit Lions just had the 3rd overall pick. The Red Wings have the projected number 1 pick. The Tigers have the number 1 pick. And the Pistons have the projected top 5 pick in the NBA draft this year.
Okay, Detroit's going for the Detroit Slam.
Detroit Slam.
You know how they created the Tiger Slam whenever he won so many tournaments or whatever, and then I think Serena Williams has one of those as well. The Detroit Grand Slam is to be the number 1 overall pick in all 4 major sports.
Yeah, it's not like we had any trades or anything for these picks. They were just bad teams.
You earned them.
Yes, sir.
You can earn the Detroit Grand Slam if you have the number 1 overall pick in all 4 major sports. Shout out to Detroit.
Let's go.
Hey,
let's go.
Rust Belt.
the sun is brightest after its darkest dawn, and those dawns have been very, 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 very dark in Detroit for a long time, since 1960. So that's very good. On the phone, 2336-223-331. A man who's very precautious about the world that he's currently living in at Boston Connor.
I mean, I've been destructive lately, so I think for everybody's safe, I'll just keep to myself here.
LeBron would catch a bigger fish than MJ? Is that what you wrote on your...
Yeah, he would. He would. good.
Wow, 443.2 pounds, or 442 pounds, 0.3, whatever. One of those two. Michael Jordan pulled a mammoth of a marlin out of the ocean from a yacht that he owned to a standing ovation landside whenever he came back to Earth after going to the sea. And I just don't know.
Oh, look at that thing.
If there's any bigger flex than that.
Oh,
you're wearing your own logo on your head.
As he should.
Okay? You're on a yacht that's named after you. Oh, yeah. And you have a standing ovation of humans at the dock when you come back from catching a 442.3 pound marlin. I mean, that is what a life this dude lives.
Is there always a breaking news tab, or is that Zito doing that?
Yeah, I threw a breaking news on that.
Zito, you were 100% sure that this was the biggest fish any basketball player had ever caught.
Ever caught ever in the NBA.
So in your eyes, he's not only the GOAT of basketball, he's the GOAT of basketball fishing.
Basketball fishing, yes.
Okay. Anything else?
No, let's just see what he does next, you know?
Yeah,
Maybe bowling, I don't know.
Scottie Pippen said he'd be the GOAT of taking all the money a team has. So here's another thing.
That's business.
You think LeBron will catch a bigger fish? And you also believe that there's potentially a little conspiracy cooking with this 442-pound marlin. Is that accurate back there?
I'm just saying, I didn't see a lot of blood on that fish. It looked like it was probably
it was a clean
stuffed.
catch, baby.
No,
It was clean.
Looked like it was stuffed.
That just shows how good a fisherman you are.
Well, with that being said, I also can't see anything in front of my face because these glasses are fogged up if you can't tell.
Yeah.
So I can't
Are you
really...
from Dorchester?
Yeah,
Like, shouldn't you know how to fish?
Well, up in Gloucester, there's a lot of blood on the fishes whenever they reel them in.
Yeah, if you're from Worcester, you'd already be making these plays.
No, Worcester doesn't know.
13 minutes after the hour, we have to get to a break because Jet Passan's joining us on the other side. Big baseball show because there's been a lot of big baseball news. A lot of it negative. Will Jet Passan bring any positive news about America's pastime, baseball? On the other side, this is the Pat McAfee Show, Wednesday, June 10th.
We have no idea how to do the subway system, but Z is doing the direction, the directing, the mapping, the planning. Well, my tell is in 10 minutes, that train should be ready. He knew his shit. He said it's going that way. This is Zito guided tour. We're not going to get spot on the train. We should get on an Uber. This was a bad idea. This was a bad decision. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I mean, this is going to be interesting.
Are we on the right way to Yankee Stadium right now? To the Bronx.
I don't like that hesitancy.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
New York it's a bit much. There's shit everywhere. It smells like shit. There's a lot of people, but it's a hell of an industry out here, you know.
Thank you so much.
Hey, let's go now, Yanks. What are we saying now, Tanaki?
Yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated. We the one. Out of the darkness, I rose up. Golden my soul, it's a goal. freedom, I toast up. Kicking game on the snare drum. Hard on the beat, let it bleed out like sacrifices. Cut it open, emotions. Spilling like oil and coasting. Therapy for my mental, I'm pinning a pistol and shoot down the criticisms. Individually, I heard the voices that told us. Throw dirt on my name and wish me the worst and stole us, Shot through the heart and pray on my downfall. But Yahtzee prevail on my own. Stand on top of the on my chest like Olympic gold. Rapid smooth on the floor like a jazz song. Witness greatness, look up in LeBron home. Remember next time for you doubt us. That only made me go.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. Wednesday, June 10th. That song during that video during the YouTube break was a banger. We don't know who sings it or how it was sung by who, but we would like to know eventually because it was fantastic, to be honest. Speaking of fantastic, joining us now is the official authority on baseball in my life, and I would assume a lot of other people, from ESPN. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Passan.
Yeah! Big Jet! Big Jet!
How's it going, Jet?
Boys?
Jet, how we see you in normal clothes here. I did not know that was a thing for you.
Yeah, it's I actually sleep in the suit, and I just changed into this for the show.
You do. This is kind of weird to not see you in the full. I mean, because 5:30 a.m. or whatever, you're doing Korean baseball on ESPN, full suit. I mean, you're in a full suit. You go on.
Can we actually get to a more important subject?
No.
I saw during the break that you chugged a full 12-ounce beer in 1.1 second. Is that what it was?
Yeah, that was at the Yankee game. Doesn't get talked about enough because other athletes chug, but I used to, and every once in a while I can get one down there pretty quick. Right there. We found out that we were sitting right in the seats that were on television. Like we had no idea until about probably third or fourth inning. We looked at our phones because you don't have a lot of service in those things, and we just got screenshots of us just from people. I'm like, oh my God, here we go. So we go into the little buffet area. We grab up beers. All right, listen, this game's over. They already hit a grand slam. Mm-hmm. We might as well take this for what it is. And any right-handed batter, we were right in the back of it. And next time it came on, I was like, here we go. I'm going to get this down. And they're only on that camera angle for only a couple seconds, because they go to the back one for the pitch. So as soon as that thing turned red, I tried to get it down. And sometimes, the throat is just wide open. And it felt like that was really going through a tunnel down there. I thought it was a pretty good performance.
I say this because I feel like when we get together, which is an inevitability at this point,
yes,
we got to have a chugging contest.
Oh,
listen, I don't know if I'm going to beat 1.1 second. That's really, really good, but I can hold my own still.
Yeah.
I'm pushing 40. I can hold my own a little bit.
Yeah,
so it's on, McAfee.
I want to let you know, I used to be a pretty renowned chugger. I had to retire the chug because everywhere I went, I would literally get challenged like 30 times, 30 times a day, and I could not say no to that. I literally could not say no to it because people would talk like how you were talking right there, and I'm like, okay, this has to happen. Just so whenever you go back to your friend group and you talk about this, I would like you to see the difference between how you chug a beer and how I chug a beer. So boom, normally I let people start too. I'm like, go ahead, do your thing. And then it's just like, see you later, put it down, walk away. Never have a conversation again with the person.
Oh yeah. The walk-off chug is the way to do it. Yeah. No question about it. But I feel like I would be a reasonable competitor.
See, this is what happens.
Everyone.
This is what happens, Jet. This is literally what happens. happens. And by the way, that's why I had to retire it, because I'm not mature enough to be like, all right, bet's good. Because I'm not mature enough. I am not mature enough.
The first time I traveled with Pat, he chugged over 20 beers, and I was astounded.
The first time. By the way, this kid's working for me. I'm his first ever boss. And I'm like, hey, this is the game, kid. Let's get to a game that we will chug beers together, by the way, though. I'll bring the chug out of retirement because of how much you have done for this show and everything.
Wow.
Yeah, I will. I will. I don't have to do it, but I'm doing it because I'm so thankful for what you have done for this show. Let's talk about it, Jet.
Generosity.
It's the least I can do. Jeff, baseball seems like they are at a standoff right now when it comes to negotiation. I talked to Kevin Youkilis yesterday. I talked to him yesterday, and he broke down why players would hate a 48-game season or anything like that due to the rotation of the pitchers and everything of that nature, the stats, the teams. He basically said it's not even real baseball. If it's not at 80 games, it's not even, in his eyes, it's not even a conversation. Is that how a lot of the players feel? And it does feel like the MLB owners are not going to do that at a prorated salary. Is that going to be the ultimate standoff at the end of this thing?
That's exactly what it is. And the players are incredibly firm right now in their stance on getting paid full prorated salary. They believe that this is a principle that they need to stand behind. Because if you look at the way that the last 5 to 10 years have gone for players, this is their perspective and how they feel. They see something like 30-plus-year-old free agents being told that they should be fitted for walkers. And they see, in arbitration, teams taking just really hard-line stances. And they see something like, players call it the punitive renewal. So the way that salaries work in baseball is if you have fewer than 3 years of service time in the big leagues, the club can essentially tell you what your salary is going to be. Now, there's sometimes where it's sort of back and forth, like, hey, we'll offer you this. You say, no, I want that. They'll say, fine, we'll meet in the middle. But if you don't accept what their ultimate offer is, they can pay you whatever they want to. And some people call it the punitive renewal because they can renew your contract for wherever they want. So it's things like this that have really gotten under the skin of baseball players. They feel like they've been bullied, they've been kicked around, they've been pushed. And remember, the players for decades were the power brokers in this situation because of Marvin Miller and because of Donald Fear and because of the union leaders that they had who stood up and were willing to have labor stoppages to fight for particular rights. The players right now are ready to fight, and they are standing behind the fully prorated salary as their fight.
You can see why they would be jaded. I mean, I got jaded in a business negotiation, and it made me hate where I was working. And so you could see how those first 3 years of basically everybody in the league, how you could potentially get jaded if you're being screwed over by maybe just one bad owner or two bad owners or something of that nature. I'm not saying everybody in the MLB is getting screwed over. I would assume you're not saying that as well. But there are probably situations there where somebody has a friend that something happened to him where he got screwed over or something like that. You carry that in, plus the fact that you signed a deal for fully guaranteed. Now they're trying to do the whole thing. You could see why players would be very frustrated, but isn't it getting to the 11th hour here? And are the players okay with potentially doing an illegal strike, which would be a breach of contract? And are they willing to go that far in your eyes? This obviously isn't a guarantee, but in your eyes.
Yeah, Pat, we're not in the 11th hour. We're in the 111th hour. The 11th hour was weeks ago at this point. And that's the most frustrating part of this entire thing is that the discussions that they're having right now, the positions that they're staked out in right now, could have been done 2 months ago. This could have happened. It's June 10th today. You know what was supposed to happen June 10th? Spring training was supposed to start today.
Oh, so it's not happening.
And they were going to start baseball on 4th of July, around that time.
So this isn't happening. It's not happening.
I mean, it's just it is incredibly frustrating, I think, for everybody involved. And listen, I'm not going to be the both sides guy in every situation, but in this particular situation, when it comes to these negotiations and when it comes to how long they've taken, both sides are unquestionably at fault.
Well, by the way, both sides is how you should look at everything. You should learn what both sides of it are and then pick which side you're right. I feel like that is something that we don't always do. Not just talk about this situation, but in general. And I think you're right there. Whenever you can not just blame one person or the other, it's obviously better whenever you notice that there's a gray area where there's potentially both are at fault here. But at the end of the day, I said this yesterday, and I think I heard it from you, but I might have missaid what I said. The players can't even strike, right? And if they strike, it's a breach of contract. If it's a breach of contract, then all the guaranteed millions and millions down the road that guys are already guaranteed, that's potentially all wiped out too. Like, do the players have any leverage in this? Just like the punitive renewal, how the players have no say there. The MLB owners can do whatever they want. Is this that same type of situation? Like when the MLB owners finally just want to say, no, we're done. This is what's happening. They can do that?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for the players, if you strike in the middle of a collective bargaining agreement, it is going to get taken to a judge and it is going to get overturned instantaneously, and you're going to be right back to work. And the players recognize this, which is why they have acknowledged that if Rob Manfred, the commissioner of baseball, institutes a season, remember, that's part of their March agreement, that Rob Manfred can set the season at whatever he wants. And they're trying to find a happy medium here and get to an agreement on what that season is. If they can't do that, though, MLB is going to play that 48-game season, and there's nothing that the players can do about it except file a grievance. And that's where it gets really ugly, Pat, and that's where it gets really dirty. And in the grievance room, there's going to be all sorts of discovery requests, and that's going to be for MLB's financials, and that's going to be for the Players Association's communications during this whole thing. And it's just going to set a really bad precedent going into 2021 when the collective bargaining agreement does expire, after which we could see a lockout or a strike.
Baseball's dead. That would mean baseball's dead. If they can't come to a good collective bargaining agreement, which let's assume they'll be able to, but in baseball it takes a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot that has to happen in baseball. This is not good. Ty is our local baseball fan. We don't have a lot. You know, there's not a lot of baseball fans out there, but here is a diehard baseball fan in Ty Schmidt. And while you were speaking over there, he was just sighing this, like he's not happy about any of this because the baseball fans are seeing other leagues, NHL, 24-team tournament. They got Vegas locked down. They're not sure what's going to happen in the East, whether it's Toronto, if Canada can get off the 14-day quarantine. Seems like Columbus will probably be it, but the NHL is figuring this out. They already got players back on the ice. They're doing independent skates, sticks are on pucks and everything of that nature. Then you look at the MLS. They just okayed a 54-game tournament, World Cup style, in the same place that the NBA is going to do a 22-team tournament. So the baseball fans are sitting here seeing all this happen, and then you're hearing the authority on baseball basically be like, well, there's going to be some grievances, and there's going to be this, and there's a new CBA. This is not a good time to be a baseball fan, Jeff.
Here's my question for you, Pat. We need to do like a Dear Pat life advice segment, column, whatever it is. And
Dr.
here's
Pat, we'll call it.
Here's my question for Dear Pat.
Dr. Pat.
If baseball goes away, Dr. Pat,
thank you.
What do I do with my life?
Well, here's a good thing for you, Jet. Although your life has been completely revolving around baseball for my knowledge of your existence. Okay, so since I've known that you have existed on my television with incredible suits, a great fake backdrop, cool albums in the back, but the words that were coming out of your mouth were always good baseball stuff. It was knowledgeable stuff said in a fashion that kept me engaged. So although your entire existence in my head and probably a lot of people's heads is directly correlated to baseball, I think because of how well you've made a sport that is basically insufferable to watch, kind of sound entertaining, you'll be able to do that with any other sport. So for you, Jeff, I think you're in a good spot. But for those diehard baseball fans who hate every other sport, and I don't think you're that way, Jeff, you seem like a guy that loves competition, loves sports, loves athleticism. You've just taken a big piece of your heart to America's pastime. I think you'll be able to figure out how to cover another sport in a beautiful fashion. But for the fans that love baseball more than anything, they're going to be in a bad spot. That'll be $700. That was what, 35 seconds of my time there with the doctor? And that's what I got. Is there going to be an
It's amazing that you can charge $700 for an answer that said absolutely nothing. I appreciate that. That is very well done.
That's psychology, baby.
Nobody else.
That's psychology, baby. That's business. What would happen? We're not talking about a potential non-existence of the MLB. I assume let's go Doomsday. Hey, let's do Doomsday. Here we go. We'll do Doomsday. Can't figure it out. They get so jaded at each other. New CBA, can't come to an agreement. You missed the 2020 season because COVID-19 and then not being able to figure out business. You missed 2021 because you're not being able to figure out business. What happens after that? Is there another league that forms? Is there a Vince McMahon XFL baseball that comes out? Like, what would it be? How do you fix this problem? Because the MLB owners know we're the only game in town. Literally in the whole world, people come to play in our league. I mean, KBO is awesome. The Dinos got hot bats, even though they lost this morning to the Doosan Bears. I mean, that was an upset that none of us expected. But aside from that, the MLB has a monopoly on this thing. How do the players fix any of this?
I think that they fix this. They have to understand, and I'm talking the players and the owners, if they don't get a deal done within the next week or so, we're looking at a 48-game season. If we're looking at a 48-game season, that is step one in your doomsday scenario playing out. If the doomsday scenario plays out, I mean, it's scary to think, Pat, about 2021 when we're not sure if fans are going to be back in the stands and the whole question of economic feasibility pops up again. And we're going and playing this entire song and dance one more time. So then are you going to have an issue in 2021? And then you don't have a collective bargaining agreement after the season. And it's going to be coming on the heels of a dead free agent period. I was talking with a player yesterday who's going to be a free agent this offseason. And he's like, how bad is it going to be? And I was like, it's probably going to be pretty bad. I mean, teams are just, they're not going to have anywhere close to the same amount of revenues coming in. And they're not going to want to put large long contracts on their books because there is such uncertainty, not for the next year, not for the next 2 years. This is something that's going to have fallout 5 years down the road. And when it comes to, when you see these sides fighting over a marginal couple $100 million, which in the grand scheme of things, Pat, considering the revenues that baseball make is not that much. Imagine what it's going to be like when they're fighting over the billions of dollars that are at stake for the years to come.
I just don't see, because if you're a free agent, your entire life you've worked for this moment to get this.
Yep.
And in baseball, by the way, I don't know who you're texting with. I don't know how high you are. You're the authority on baseball. I'd assume it's pretty high, but there's $400 million contracts. There's $300 million contracts, and these things are guaranteed. So you got these humans that are going into their contract or free agency year. They're like, okay, if I just succeed 30% of the time this next season, I am going to get broken off a couple $100 million. I've worked there my whole time. And now it's like, well, hate to break to you, but it might only be 48 games if you guys even want to play that. Then there's probably going to be a CBA negotiation, maybe a lockout. Then you're probably 2-3 years, maybe never going to get that money that you thought. This could be a big change in baseball, especially because that national emergency clause that they have in there. I would assume the owners saw this COVID-19 that was unprecedented, and they were like, well, now we have to account for this potentially happening in the future again. We don't know what's going to happen. We're going to see a brand new baseball. Will we see the same great players? Will this hold any players out from going and playing in the MLB, or do you think another league ever happens?
I don't see another league happening. Just logistically, it's so difficult. It takes such an enormous amount of money to start up something like that. You wonder about the stadiums. There are a bunch of hurdles.
I need a couple bats, couple balls, some steroids. We can Airbnb that stadium down in Florida. Mm-hmm. They're giving it away. I think that is something. That's the only way the players have any leverage is if there's somewhere else to go.
No. I'm going to disagree with you on that. You know how the players have leverage? Because they're the best in the world at what they do, and we love excellence.
Yeah, we do. We like seeing the greats be great, but we also hate hearing about the business side of what the greats expect to be paid.
We do. And I think, you know what, Pat, somebody brought up a great point to me yesterday. As we see these two sides that are entrenched in their positions and don't want to give, and this is turning into a power struggle, it's almost like they're looking for the dub, right? Like they want to win.
Especially because it's public.
And the way that this person said it to me is, the owners aren't going to win, the players aren't going to win, the pandemic won, and we all have to figure out what to do in the wake of that. And I thought that was a very salient point, that this is not a normal collective bargaining negotiation. This is in the midst of something that we could not have fathomed or imagined. And we have to understand that everybody in the end is going to be giving something up. And once they recognize that and acknowledge that, that's when baseball comes back.
That's business, baby. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, the authority on baseball. Ladies and gentlemen from ESPN, Jeff Passan.
Yeah!
Our boy Jet.
747.
Hey, thanks for saving the world yesterday, too, by the way. I didn't tell, your entire story, but I said we can't have the authority on baseball on the show because he has to go save the world. So we appreciate you doing that for the world.
Listen, one step at a time, man. One good deed, one kindness. Everyone just try to do that once a day, and the world will be a better place.
And one final question. Your Twitter cover photo, it says Jeff Passan isn't here while Stone Cold Steve Austin's ass is walking by you, I believe. Is that Stone Cold? Who is that?
That is Stone Cold. Man, you got, do you know Stone Cold's ass that well?
Well, I know wrestling. That was a very Stone Cold Steve Austin look while walking by there, especially the Raw is War era. Were you front row right there trying not to tell your parents you weren't there? What is this?
Do you have a little time for this story?
Yeah.
Because it's a little bit of a story. Okay.
3 minutes. We have 3 minutes. Literally, that is the max we have. So get it together, Jet.
All right. Senior year in high school, 1998. I believe it was middle of March. Buddy of mine had gone to a WWF at the time event and had just a bad experience. I don't know what it was. So he calls up Stanford, says, I had a terrible time. They're like, fine. Next time Raw is in town, we will give you front row corner seats on the aisle. So
WWF taking care of people.
So he has 2 tickets down in the corner there. This is not just an average Raw, Pat McAfee. This is the Mike Tyson Stone Cold Steve Austin Raw.
Oh, that's a big Raw.
This is like one of the great Raws of all time. And my friend has 2 tickets and has 2 people to decide between, either me or our friend Chaz. The dick goes and picks Chaz.
Unbelievable!
And so instead of me getting to go to the show, he said, don't worry, I will make sure that you get on TV. Brings a sign to the show that says Jeff Passan isn't here. And as Stone Cold is walking out for the segment with Mike Tyson, Jeff Passan isn't here, gets on USA.
There we go. You're a part of moments in WWE history that gets talked about and replayed thousands and thousands of times. And that's why if baseball stops, you'll always be good.
Pat, next time I'm on the show with you, remind me to tell you about my voicemail message by The Rock. That's a good one, too.
Oh. He left you a voicemail?
Oh, no. My outgoing message back when we had answering machines was The Rock.
Smart. I mean, that's a good, not a bad person. If you smell! Not bad right there. I appreciate you. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Passan. We got to get to a break. This is the Pat McAfee Show, Wednesday, June 10th. We're back on the other side. A lot of reaction to that baseball talk. Some Jameis Winston, Michael Bennett, Nick Foles talk. Reggie Bush is going back to hug USC again. Good for USC. By the way, that's the Bone, the new athletic director at USC, who was formerly at Cincinnati, that we got to meet. Mike Bone, I believe is his name. Good guy, doing business. Good for Reggie Bush. A lot more to talk about. 40 minutes after the hour, this is the Pat McAfee Show.
Seconds before I hit the anvil. I've been trying to time myself out for 15 seconds. I've never spoken for 15 seconds before. There's no chance.
It's a new era for Colts football. All right, let's go.
You're all badasses. Thank you all for your service. Have an incredible day out there.
It's the safest place in America right now. Holy hell. All right, everybody smile. You're probably not supposed to.
Hey, safe travels. We appreciate the hell out of all of you. Go kick ass. Hoo-ah. Hey, the best game in the history of the drumline is going to be today. You guys are going to steal the show and set the goddamn.
How's it going? My name's Pat. I swing a big hammer, and when I talk, people listen. A long fucking day. So I had to switch it to damn. When I get going like that, it really catches.
Hey, big cold swing today, huh? Another week about to start, Foxy. Triple H texted me, said he enjoyed it. Nice. He said if anybody's making fun of you for the size of your hammer, just tell them it's not the size, it's how you swing it.
That vlog that you just watched right there at the end, that was like a Greek diplomat or something of that nature. And when we landed, they had all these security and SUVs around them, like an absurd amount. It was like 10 to 15 of them at one time. We get off the camera filming, obviously, because Foxy films just about everything. They start telling us after we paid a fucking absurd amount of cash to do this. They're like, we were told you're not allowed to film him. And we're like, says who? They said it. I was like, I don't get... Am I a fucking Greek citizen? I do not care what a Greek diplomat. You can't film here. I was like, yes, we can. Continue to film. Felt like we were going to almost get arrested just for landing at the same time as a fucking diplomat because Foxy, I told him, do not put the camera down. Yeah. Foxy was up, he's like, we're probably not even going to use this. I was like, do not put the camera down. Even if you're not recording, please act like we're recording. We cannot just roll over like soft asses here.
Yeah, that's the thing in 2020. Everyone has a camera in their pocket. So how are you going to tell someone not to film something?
They did the fool.
Yeah. And I think it was a guy that does not have the authority to say that to us.
No, he did not.
Yeah.
We said, what?
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 What? We don't even know who that is. We'll blur out his face. We did not, by the way. We zoomed out.
It was like 40 people came on that?
It was huge. By the way, probably a really good guy. Not his fault that they told us not to film him or whatever. No. This is just like Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers.
That's right.
Not his fault, just a situation.
Not his fault.
I think he has immunity, though. So if he's a diplomat, I think he has immunity. He could have slit your guys' throats.
He could have
walked away scot-free.
Yeah, that's that get-out-of-jail-free card.
Diplomatic immunity.
Wow.
Lethal Weapons 4.
Hey, one day we become diplomats,
Yeah.
boys.
Oh, yeah.
We change those rules, because that's fucked up. Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
We just start whatever now?
Yep.
If you are listening to this show right now, I want you to take a second and look down. When was the last time you shaved your junk? It's been a while, don't lie. Let's take a second to thank our sponsor, Manscaped, for holding you accountable to get rid of the funk and shave your junk.
Where's Sharon?
She's out there.
Sharon.
Manscaped is the only men's brand dedicated to below-the-waist grooming and hygiene. Manscaped is forever changing the grooming game with their Perfect Package 3.0 Essentials Kit, the perfect tools for your family jewels. The Perfect Package 3.0 kit comes with the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0.
Connor just went, and Mitch just went looking
Oh,
for
Mitch definitely
This
wouldn't
is
that
gonna be a
battle. Waterproof cordless body trimmer and a ton of other liquid formulations to round out your manscaping routine. When you purchase a Perfect Package 3.0 kit at manscaped.com, you get the biggest bang for your buck. Subscribers get a new replacement blade refill for your lawnmower trimmer delivered to your door every 3 months. This is the perfect package for your perfect package. Get 20% off and free shipping with code America at manscaped.com. It's 20% off and free shipping with code America at manscaped.com. Your partner, your body, and your balls. Well, thank you.
Shout out to Manscaped. Really good. That Lawnmower 3.0, you take that thing right to your pubic hair, and it's like butter on a warm piece of bread.
Who won? I didn't see.
Well, Connor got the ball.
Oh, okay.
So Mitt left earlier. Connor ended up with it. Was there any bit of a scuffle for the Sharon on the way out there?
No, there's not. Bill got the ball, tossed it to Connor.
Oh, sabotage.
Was this a race? Because if it was, I mean, Mitt came out of the room stumbling drunk, so there's no way he was getting the ball either way.
This is the Sharon, by the way. That's my name. But this is the Sharon. Thomas William Sharon handcrafted this for the first time in 1880. They still use the ball to this day.
T-Dub.
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 T-Dub. The AFL's back tomorrow morning, 5:30 a.m.
Yeah!
To give us some picks, we have 2 calls from Australia. Warwick or Nick? Warwick has been on before. Whose brain do we want to trust? This is a big deal. This can't turn out like the Chris in Miami thing with UFC fights. Who do we want?
Well, Warwick's an Australian name. Nick's just a normal-ass name. So.
Yeah.
Hey, it's a name of probably you can be a bit negative too if you're.
I was a little skeptical in there.
Same time.
A realist.
Well, that's the spin zone that negative people put on it. Yeah.
Cynical people.
No. Negative. Yeah.
Skeptical people.
No. These are all spins that you guys put on it. Just
Realistic.
negative.
Tell it like it is.
Both at the same
See
time.
that all of these you've had to literally use all of these before, probably to me. We're gonna go down here. We're gonna do this. It's gonna be there's a chance that this also happens. Why are you gonna be so negative? Not being negative, just telling you what the other outcome could potentially be. That's called a realist. No, it's being negative. I don't even want to hear about that.
Devil's advocate.
Oh, all of these things.
Devil's
These are
lettuce.
all the things. All right, let's go to Warwick in Australia. Warwick, you've been on the show before. I believe the last time you said, they're all good matches. Can't tell you who's going to win or something like that. You try to be like pro both teams. We just need to know for tomorrow, who should we bet handsomely on for these AFL games? Because there's like 100 bets for every AFL game on FanDuel right now, and I'm pumped to get back into the gambling business with AFL.
Yeah, mate, I think I took on board your information from last time, decided to get my balls out, and I got 3 picks for you this week.
Hey, that's what we're talking about.
Good boy,
Get your
Warwick.
balls out. All right, Warwick's got his balls out, not from Thomas William Sharon, but from, I believe, his parents.
Yep.
They birthed the balls for this guy. Warwick, what do we got, pal?
Yeah. Well, we've got the Collingwood-Richmond game. I'm going to have to go against your man, Cox, and I'm going to have to put the money on Richmond this time around.
Cox not
just too
playing.
strong of a team. They're too deep. Got really good depth. So Richmond would be the go-to for the first game tomorrow.
Took his balls out one deep.
Minus
on it.
162 to get the W.
Minus 162. And also Mason Cox, the American stud over there, not playing because he injured his knee in training. We have a full interview with him actually debuting tonight, like a 25, 30-minute conversation we had with the Coxzilla about the AFL. Good conversation. I recommend everybody take it. Okay, Richmond Tigers at -1.
Is it money line?
62.
Yeah, what about the spread?
Spread's minus 8.5.
Yeah, that'll be a tough one, the money line. Games are a bit shorter, so it's going to be a bit tricky to pick the score, but
Okay.
I think
go
Richmond
money
to win is a good call.
Okay, Warwick.
Also a good feel-good story for
at
Richmond
this.
as well. Jack Higgins coming back a year since he last played. He had brain surgery, had like a genetic condition, had to have some surgery. He'll be playing his first game in about a year for the Tigers, so that's a big feel-good story.
That is he the first to score potentially? I think that is also a bet. What's his name? Jack Stevens?
Jack Higgins.
Higgins.
He's 21 years old.
Jack Higgins already had brain surgery at 21 years old. Let's go. Okay, welcome back, Jack Higgins. I'm a Collingwood Magpie guy. Magpie, big aggressive bird in the sky in Australia, by the way, for those that are asking. It's not just like an apple pie, a different style of pie. But if a guy has brain surgery and comes back to play a year later, I'm pulling for that guy. Jack Higgins and the Richmond Tigers at -165. What's the next bet?
Jack Higgins is actually minus 165 to score a goal at any time.
Bet on that as well. Jack
Bingo.
Higgins -165. He's definitely going to score after coming back after that. Oh, yeah. Seems like that's All right,
and the teammates will get around him for sure. They'll support him. They'll all get around him, and that'll be good. Next pick is Brisbane against Fremantle. The Brisbane Lions against Fremantle. Brisbane are playing at home, and they had a really good record at home last year. So coming up against Fremantle, that's a good pick.
Oh, well, yeah, they're minus 300.
They're minus 300, Warwick. Well, you look like Vegas Dave or whatever that guy is, just giving us the, minus 7,000 on. Can you got any, what's the spread on that?
The spread on that is 18.5.
Do they win by 20? You think that seems like a massive spread? Is that a normal spread for these games?
Yeah, that's about right. That's 3 goals. So if you want to compare that to like an NFL game, that's maybe like a 4-point spread.
Oh wow.
Okay, 4-point spread. Okay, so we're taking the Brisbane Lions minus 18.5 for sure. All right,
Yeah.
got it. Okay, what's next?
Yeah, and I think the last one I'll give you is Essendon. Essendon over Sydney. That's going to be a good one. They're underdogs, so this is my gamble here. Essendon over Sydney. They've got some big players coming back. They're dealing with some injuries, but I reckon they'll get the chocolates over Sydney this week.
Reckon. What are they at? Plus what?
112.
Plus 112. Essendon. By the way, Essendon was the team that I watched the first time. That was my one night stand. That was the team that I fell in love with AFL because of. It just so happens I can't be a fan of theirs because we got Mason Coxillo on another team. But okay, Warwick in Australia. We appreciate you for that. Let's get Rich. Have a good one, Warwick. Stay safe down there. Hey, happy. Cheers to the AFL season getting back into the things. Okay, so we got Richmond Tigers minus 165, Jack Higgins minus 165 to score, and the Brisbane Lions minus 18.5, and then Essendon to win plus 112.
Don't forget about Steel Side Bottom.
Of Collingwood. That'll be a part of the conversation that we have tonight that will debut with Mason Cox, the American who has gone over to Australia to play in the AFL and has 60 games in the league. They judge everything for how many games you had. His goals are obviously get to 100, but I think the average over there is like 30. So we got an American who's really good at this sport. The sport is awesome. It's high impact. There's a lot of athleticism. There's kicking, which I love it, but there's some moss-like catches. They spear each other. I mean, it is a great sport. I was mad that I just learned about it at the beginning of this quarantine. Excited that they're back tomorrow. We got some locks. We got some bets. Let's make some money off it. And I'm excited to hear everybody's reaction to watching a game. It's a good one. I was on vitamins every single time I've gone down the YouTube rabbit hole and watched it, but it has kept my attention every single time. It is great sport. And they will kill each other out there.
Here's the easy thing. I mean, I know you always get up at like 5 to do your workout, so you just, you watch it while you're doing your workout.
Game starts 5:30. I don't know how long they normally are. I only watched one game, and it was only a half, but should be easy. Hour 1 is wrapping up. Thanks to Jeff Passan for joining us and having a good conversation. Darius Slayton, wide receiver for the Giants, joins us in the next hour. A lot to talk about, a lot to do. This is the Pat McAfee Show. Wednesday, June 10th from Indianapolis, Indiana! Okay. Hey, that AFL game coming back is very exciting. Mm-hmm. It is it's a sport that if you like football, I think you'll like the Aussie Rules football.
I like that they're doing a showcase game, the one game by itself tomorrow between two very solid teams
Well, Collingwood's like one of their most popular
expose
teams.
the world to the game.
Yeah. And the Richmond Tigers are the last year's champs. Mm-hmm. It's going to be good. Dusty Martin, too. Hey, he's on Richmond Tigers.
He's a player.
He is a stud. And he gives little to no fucks, it feels like. Mm-hmm. He is ready to roll at all times. 5:30 a.m. That's early as hell. But DVR it, watch it back. I'm sure there'll be a stream on the internet somewhere. It's going to be good.
What's exciting is I bet a player to get 25 or more disposals, and I have no idea what a disposal is.
A disposal is every time they get the ball.
Oh, so they just have to touch it 25 times?
Yeah.
Oh, cake.
Because it's like there's a little bit of soccer in it where they like had to set up the formation. They're kicking the ball. So the game is you run with Sharon! You run with Sharon, and then you punt you kick it to somebody, and if they kick it in the air, a teammate, if you catch it in the air, a whistle is blown, and you get 6 seconds to kick it forward, or you can just go through that 6 seconds and run it, I believe. And then you're just trying to make it down like this 7-mile field, and every single catch is contested. There's big hits in there. When you're running, people are getting speared. I mean, it was electric to watch. I had no idea. How have I been in a shell so much or under a rock so much that I didn't know this sport existed? It's because nobody covers it. No, like ESPN, I guess, had it back in the 80s or something like that, or in the 90s. Because when I tweeted out about the AFL, a lot of people were like, ESPN used to run a game every single night or whatever. I was like, well, that was before my time, before I was watching ESPN. And then that Fox Sports one, it's always on at 2:30 a.m. or whatever it is, because they're on the opposite side of fucking Earth over there. But watch it. I think people are going to love it. And there's a lot of things to gamble on it.
So I assume, similar to soccer, like the midfielders for this will have more disposals, and then the guys like Coxzilla will have more goals because they're playing up top, getting the kicks to them to score the goal.
But there's a lot of goals. So I think there's like 10 goals a game.
There's quite a bit.
Yeah, and they're each 6 points, I think, or something like that nature. There's like maybe even more goals in it. There's a lot that goes on. It's a good fucking
You got to be
sport.
good at everything to be good at the sport.
Yeah, you have to be able to kick.
Yep.
You have to be able. They call it footy because you have to be able to pass. Which, by the way, might be why I kept it on the television, because I saw all these people punting, and the Australians that have come over to the NFL. They've always talked about Aussie Rules football because they've always said we're not doing a rugby punt, we're doing an Aussie Rules football punt, and everybody was like, yeah, it's rugby or whatever. I'm like, well, I think it's Aussie Rules football. I think it's a complete different sport. And I would say that in the commentating because a lot of the Australian punters would tell me about it. And then I finally got to watch it, and I was like, damn, I should have been watching this for a long fuck time. But there's a lot of punting, running, I mean, it's good sport. It's
Over under is 138.5, so quite a bit of scoring there.
Let's go.
Oh, okay.
Hammer
There's
that.
a lot of score. Yeah, but that's who you're trying to get the ball to, is the forwards, where Mason Cox is. And I don't know if they call him a forward. I could be completely wrong there. But you're trying to hit it to somebody that's in like a scoring area. There's like this big arc. And if you catch it, which is called a mark, somebody would punt it into there. And if your 6'10" Coxzilla gets up there and catches it,
like we played as kids.
Yeah, whistle blows. Yeah, it's like Jackpot 5000 or whatever it's called. You catch it, whistle is blown. But he's jumping on people's shoulders to jump off their back. There's people taking legs out. I mean, it is getting insane up there. But if he catches that, they blow a whistle. Everybody has to back off for like 30 seconds, I think. And now he's attempting like a punt field goal to put it through the post. It was a good sport. It's a good sport.
Can't wait.
It's a good sport. Let's go to Garen in Michigan. What do you want to talk about, brother?
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, not too bad. Are you up there in the UP?
Ypsilanti?
Yeah, so I am from the UP, actually. I go to MSU now. Go green.
Go white.
Go green, go white. Go in the
there
toilet
it
for
is.
every PR thing you guys
Okay. So my question was, I've heard some rumblings where the Big Ten was talking about doing like a completely only Big Ten schedule. So like East and West teams kind of play and stuff like that, and you play like your rivals twice a year. I wanted to get your thoughts on that, and I also wanted to ask if you think MSU has any chance this year. They got a quarterback.
No, they don't.
Kid's name is Rocky Lombardi.
It's MSU. You don't.
They can't score.
College football, I don't know if playing all your conference games at one time, that's probably a smart move. I would assume a lot of people do that just for travel regulations, even though West Virginia has to go across this country for every Big 12 game. I would assume they're going to play within there, just to keep for safety. But we don't know what's going to happen next week when it comes with the Rona, literally.
No idea.
No idea. Good morning, beautiful people. It is Wednesday, June 10th. Hour 2 kicking off. In this hour, we have Darius Slayton, wide receiver from the New York Giants, joining us in about 15 minutes. We had Jeff Passan in the first hour, the authority on baseball from ESPN, a man who couldn't join us yesterday because he was literally donating his time to save the world, broke down the entire MLB and MLBPA current negotiations on how they can get back to play after the sports stoppage, the quarantine, the business with no fans in the stands and things of that nature. And I don't want to say he brought gloom and doom, but boy, oh boy, at Ty Schmidt, felt like there's a lot of gloom and doom in the baseball world on whether or not they'll make it back.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like the players aren't moving off that number of how much they want to be paid. And when you hear everything that he's saying with the negotiations, I don't blame them. Why would they move off that? Because if they do, it's just going to screw them over for the future.
Forever.
Yeah.
This is big decisions that have to be made because they're going into a CBA negotiation, I think, after this season, actually. So any decision that's made now is currently affecting or potentially affecting the next 10 years of baseball. There's a lot of people that are going to be standing on their platform. statement. Ooh.
Pedestal?
Angle. Definitely on a pedestal. So, all these things. Yeah, standing on these things to get their point across, because if they give in now, they feel like they'll probably have to give in during the CBA negotiations, which potentially aren't even happening after a season because we don't know if this season's going to happen. There's a lot to sort out in the MLB. And Jeff Passan said they're basically in the 111th hour. This should have been done months ago, especially if they want to get this thing done. Good news for sports fans, though, even though baseball, a sport you probably don't watch, isn't coming back. It doesn't seem like it's coming back, even though Trevor Bauer said 95% to 100% chance it's coming back. It seems like it's not coming back. Other sports are coming back. The NHL, they rolled out a plan of what they were going to do. 24-team tournament. It was going to be like March Madness. They'll have 2 hub cities. Everybody will live there. They'll play numerous games throughout the day. It'll get televised. You get an Eastern Conference. You get a Western Conference. Then you play against each other for the COVID Cup in an expedited season. How close are we to that actually happening? At Nick Morado, diehard hockey fan. Let's go, Pens. Let's go, Pens. Let's go, Pens. Let's go, Pens. Blackhawks stink. They're not even in the tournament. What do you think, at Nick Morado?
Blackhawks did weasel their way into the tournament,
Damn.
but you mentioned the Penguins. Penguins were one of the teams that took to the ice on Monday and Tuesday yesterday for informal skates. So 6 guys or less can go on the ice at a time back in team facilities. The Islanders, Vegas Golden Knights, Toronto Maple Leafs, Edmonton Oilers, a few of the other teams that actually got back on the ice. A couple other teams expect to get out there this week.
Vegas will be a hub city.
Vegas is essentially a lock, and this is what NRD is telling me. NHL Rumors Daily, shout out NRD. Vegas is essentially a lock. They're looking for another hub city, and the reason the announcement hasn't come out yet of what that will be, because they think it might be a Canadian city, and they still have to wait to get word from the Canadian government if they will relax the 14-day quarantine on people going into Canada.
So is Canada now, is that just all? Because you got to remember, when you fly to Canada, you got to go through customs. You're an international flight, and it seems weird because you're just, it's just a couple stones throw away from whatever. Just like whenever you go into Mexico and you got to do the whole thing. So they have to treat America, I'd assume, exactly how they treat the rest of the world. I would assume their international arrivals are all under the same package, even if it's just America, because they're probably worried about potential. Who knows where anything could be coming from anywhere else? What rules are in other places? What testing's like other places? What coronavirus is like other places? So that we fall into that category. Although they did make exceptions for professional athletes. If they come from Canada to America, they can come and immediately get back into things. That was for the NHL and Brock Lesnar potentially, because he lives up there in, I think he lives up there in
Saskatoon.
I think he lives in Saskatoon. Hey there, you up in Saskatoon? Got no service? Got to climb a pole to call somebody? Hey pal, Brock Lesnar over there. That's the alpha male. Yeah, they did that, but going into Canada, still potentially a 14-day quarantine. Is Canada? Did they have a worse quarantine than us?
I don't know.
I don't think
because there's that video that came out of that dude getting dragged out of that park.
Oh yeah.
Gumpy's not going to be able to come back to America for at least another 2 months. Whenever he's up there, they locked down the border. Is Canada just being super precautious, or did they have like a very, 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 very bad outbreak of the coronavirus?
I think they're just being super precautious. And you would think that if the U.S. opened it up and allowed that exemption, that Canada would follow suit, especially when you have a chance for Toronto to be a hub city and get all eyes on the game there.
Good news for Canada. I just got a stat that FanDuel and DraftKings 85% of the market share here in Indiana. Whoa. Let's go, FanDuel. Let's go, FanDuel. Let's go. We run a lot of great ads for FanDuel. But I think the good news up there for the Canadians who are wondering if the restrictions are going to get eased, we have Dr. Myron Roll joining us when? Tomorrow.
Yeah.
We have Dr. Myron Roll, the man who was incredible at football in college, went into the NFL, then he went over to Oxford. He got a, what's that called?
Rhodes Scholar.
Rhodes Scholar. There it is. That's tough. I was never in that world. Rhodes Scholar. And then now he is a brain surgeon or in the medical field up in Boston, I do believe. He joined us at the beginning of this whole quarantine thing to break down the virus and everything that they knew at the time and assumed at the time for a cool conversation. We'll talk to him tomorrow about how have these protests kind of opened the eyes of a lot of people to say, like, okay, whenever these people are around each other, very close to each other, in every city across the country, basically, it doesn't seem like it is over whelmed our hospitals. It doesn't seem like the death rate has gone through the roof. Who knows about the coronavirus? I don't know anything about the coronavirus numbers, whether they've gone up or not. But are we getting to a point where what we initially believed about this whole thing just a couple months ago is not what we believe now after more knowledge and things of that nature because we had never seen the coronavirus before? That's what we'll talk to Dr. Myron Roll for. And I would assume that if something happens in America, that Canada is probably going to be right alongside us. And now I don't know. The 14-day quarantine sounds like nobody's doing that here in America anymore. I think Hawaii might be actually, but nobody else in America is doing that. And we are literally just an invisible line away from them.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see if we'll be on the same page or not whenever things start opening back up.
Do you think the problem with Canada is it's so sticky? So like the virus sticks to everything there?
Cold.
Cold too, yeah.
Yeah, it really loves the cold from what I've been told.
Yeah.
And moose. Oh, you should see that coronavirus when it gets around moose and maple. You should see when coronavirus eats its maple. It's like Popeye with spinach, and that is why I think they have the 14-day quarantine up there. Any of the other NHL news?
Just still training camp not expected to start before July 10th. And then I still think they're trying to beat the NBA back. So the NBA announced July 31st. I think you'll try and see the NHL get back in like the 22nd or 29th.
This has been a real strategy for all these leagues. You saw Dana White. He was trying to figure out how can we be the only show in town? How can I make this work with all of the guidelines and rules and things that would have to be necessary, social distancing? How do I make this work? He had a cage in the basement of the UFC that they turned into from being a contender series into actual fight night. They were able to keep everybody separated. They were able to test everybody. They saw a massive bump because they were one of the only sports back. The AFL, I think, is very excited to be back before any big American sports are back. The fact that the NHL could get ahead of the NBA and obviously ahead of the NFL and the MLB, now you're talking about if the NHL, which they haven't in a long time made a good decision when it comes to marketing or PR, growing the game wise. If I were them, I would be trying to move the NHL to when that time of year comes where baseball is the only show in town. If I'm the NHL, and I know probably air conditioners are going to have to be at a very, very high rate if they're going to play in the spring and summer. But if I'm the NHL, I'm trying to move towards that time. Let me take on the MLB, which is potentially not even going to happen or be at a different level. And we're an alternate choice for sports for people to watch. That just seems like that would be the right decision.
That is a real thought, and apparently the league agrees. And it seems like they could potentially move forward with starting the season in like November, December, January timeframe, play all the way through the summer when, like you said, the real only competition is Major League Baseball, which is now dead.
This is smart. Major League Baseball is dead. Let's have a moment of silence for Major League Baseball, by the way. There's so many great moments. So many great moments. You just think back to old Great Bambino pointing the bat, Jackie Robinson rounding that base. The guy did the fist pump thing that was potentially on his way out of town. Mm-hmm. And then you obviously got guys climbing walls. Ken Griffey Jr. doing incredible things. Yeah, not even talk about Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, whenever they were just doing that Royd home run derby fest every single night. I mean, MLB has provided a lot of great times, and sadly, unfortunately, it does feel as if the MLB is
one of those things that is not going to survive the quarantine.
Moment of silence for baseball. Moment passed.
Never would have guessed it.
Never would have guessed it. Let's get to some NFL news before we go to a break because we got Darius Slayton of the New York Giants joining us. Jameis Winston said, I'm one of the best QBs to ever play the game. He said, historically, if you look at it, I'm one of the best QBs to ever play the game. And if I'm Jameis Winston, I know what I'm worth. And I know day in and day out without publicly coming in and saying it. We won't break down that because there's tweets that I've sent out that don't make sense either. That historically, I'm one of the best quarterbacks to play the game, Jameis Winston, on his NFL career via Bleacher Report. And if I'm Jameis Winston, the reason why I'm thinking that is because I only have people around me that show me one stat and one stat alone. And that is, if you look in the history of this sport, 100 years they were celebrating the NFL. There's great players that have thrown the pigskin around the yard for all these, you name all the big-time name quarterbacks that have lined up and laced up their boots and gone under center and shotgun for NFL teams. In the history of the game, in your head, you just thought of all these great quarterbacks that maybe you watched on your team growing up or things of that nature. Jameis Winston ranks 8th overall in the history of the game for most pass yards in one NFL season. He's ahead of Dan Marino. He's ahead of Patty Mahomes. He's ahead of Matthew Stafford. And if it wasn't for Drew Brees throwing so many yards every single year, Jameis Winston would be 4th overall or 5th overall. That is an incredible stat to look at and say, hey, what do quarterbacks do in the NFL? Okay, they either hand the ball off, they give incredible motivational speeches, which we know check. Jameis Winston does those, eat W's, but they throw the ball. That is their job. And if I'm Jameis Winston, number 8 in the history of the game season belongs to me. 5,109 yards. And let's just say there was one less drop, he would have passed Roethlisberger for number 7. I mean, this is talking about, if I'm Jameis Winston, I'm saying this, that's because I looked at that stat. Then there's this other stat. That if you're a quarterback, not only is your job to throw the ball a long way and lead the team and give incredible motivational speeches and things of that nature, but it's also to make sure that you don't also give the same exact chance to the other team to win the game when it comes to turnovers, because he ranks 7th in the NFL when it comes to turnovers. 30 interceptions, I mean. So Jameis Winston, not only is he number 8 in the history of the game for most pass yards, which would say, hey, that guy, damn good quarterback. What were the names up there? Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, Ben Roethlisberger, Jameis Winston, Matthew Stafford, Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes. You're talking about the greatest in the game, and Jameis Winston is in there. And that's the upside of Jameis. But then you look at this number, it's like, oh, literally in the history of the game, there's been 100 years of football. There is 32 teams that play all of these seasons, and there's so many quarterbacks that could potentially go out there and turn the ball over. He ranks 7th overall, and he's tied for 7th with a lot of people. And if you look at this list, if you're Jameis Winston, you're like, isn't George Blanda one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time? He threw 42 interceptions in 1962. But let's not give him a break. He threw 30 interceptions. In 1965, George Blanda was throwing the ball to the other team because they probably didn't even have a punter. That's what it seems like at this point. But Jameis Winston, it's a tale of two stats, and it's a tale of two Jameses. And now Jameis has his eyes fixed for the first time, and he has these incredible new workouts to help his hips get through the passes with baseball bats and things of that nature. And he's bobbing and weaving a lot of things in practice. Jameis Winston, I think, is working his ass off. We talked to Clyde Christensen. Clyde Christensen said the thing about him is his former quarterback coach. The thing about him is he almost works too hard. Jameis Winston is so passionate and works so hard and does so many things, including baseball swings from the pocket to see if he gets his hips through the thing. And he's dodging boxing bags and things of that nature. I think he works his ass off. The only thing that brings him down is his decision-making whenever he has the football and he throws it to the other team. Now, these workouts are individual workouts for different things. Those bear crawls are not great bear crawls, but I think he's lost 12 pounds since then, so the bear crawls played a pivotal role in his conditioning start. Those are not great bear crawls. That was at the early beginning of Jameis' stage before he lost 12, 13 pounds. Now he's got good eyes. If Jameis could not throw all the interceptions that he throws, and maybe it's Bruce Arians' offense that is enticing him to throw it into double coverage or triple coverage or a defensive meeting room and things of that nature. And maybe because he couldn't see anything that he's potentially throwing interceptions. But you have to see where he's coming from. Whenever he says, I'm historically one of the best quarterbacks of all time, he's number 8 overall in pass yards. It's just that other stat that you can also pair alongside it that goes, not so fast, my friend. Shout out Lee Corso. Good for Jameis, though. I like the confidence. Yes. I like that he's going in New Orleans. Drew Brees, by the way, is the one who's in front of him, all those things. Drew Brees is not only becoming a figure publicly that is hopefully going to lead some real change after making a tone-deaf decision in an interview, but also I think behind the scenes, he got Teddy paid $20 million a year. Taysom Hill has become a good quarterback out of there. A lot of people go through the Saints and become better quarterbacks. Jameis Winston, can he be the next one? I hope so. And historically, one of the best quarterbacks of all time when it comes to yards.
Hey, Favre and Manning are on that interception list too. Who knows? Jamie might turn it around.
He really could. And I don't know if it's going to be with the Patriots, which I think you're thinking is potentially going to happen after 1 year. But I like when Jameis is coming out and talking. What do you want him to say, by the way? This is just like when they asked Joe Flacco if he was elite. This is just like when you ask a player if he thinks he's good or not. What are you supposed to say? Nah, I stink. Can't
do it.
Once you say that, you lost everybody, including yourself. Can't say it. Won't say it. Can't win with it. Won't win with it. Well, Jameis stopped throwing picks because if he doesn't, you won't win with it. 14 minutes after the hour, Darius Slayton from the New York Giants joins us on the other side. This should be a good conversation with old Darius Slayton. He played with Jared Stidham in college.
Ooh.
He played with Danny Dimes last year. He was a 5th-round pick that showed up out of nowhere and had 9 starts and almost 800 yards last year. 8 touchdowns. Stud. We're with Darius Slayton on the other side. This is the Pat McAfee Show.
Dang it. If you're listening to the show right now, I want you to take a second and look. Don.
Don.
When was the last time you shaved that junk? It's been a while. Don't lie. Mm-hmm. Let's take a second and call him back real quick. Mm-hmm. Our sponsor, Manscaped, for holding you accountable to get rid of the funk and shaving up that junk.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to some talking points real quick.
Please do.
Manscaped is the only men's brand dedicated to below-waist grooming and hygiene. Manscaped is forever changing the grooming game.
Yeah, they are.
With their Perfect Package 3.0 Essential Kit.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That kit is the best kit.
It's the greatest kit.
It's a good kit.
Oh, yeah. The perfect tools for your family jewels. The Perfect Package 3.0 kit comes with a new improved Lawnmower 3.0, waterproof, cordless body trimmer, and tons of other liquid formulations to round out your Manscaped routine.
You seem to be distracted a little bit, Zito. What's going on?
I didn't eat breakfast this morning. I don't want to talk about it.
I thought it was because somebody's potentially either calling or not calling.
I think Darius Slayton might be in the bathroom. But I'm going to get back to this ad read. When you purchase the new Perfect Package 3.0 Manscaped.com, you get the biggest bang for your buck. I'm going to call the action real quick.
Please do, yeah.
Get 20% off and free shipping with code America at Manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at Manscaped.com. And use code America. Your partner, your body, and your balls will thank you.
That's right. Zito, as we wait for Darius Slayton to get on the line, Zito will try to call him. We have to talk about Michael Bennett. Michael Bennett was on Green Light with Chris Long, the podcast. I don't know if this was yesterday or a couple days ago. Good show, by the way. Chris Long, very, very intelligent, accomplished, and insightful, entertaining person. I enjoy the Green Light with Chris Long podcast. Whenever I see the clips, I always watch them because the conversations that he has with people are very good, genuine conversations. I think I'm excited for Kyle Long also to get involved in me, whatever he ends up doing. I think he's trying to take on golf right now. He was, I think that guy was almost a professional baseball player before he decided to just go play offensive line in the NFL. Like, I think that was exactly what Kyle did. He said, Kyle said, I'm going to get away from baseball. I'm just going to go be an offensive lineman in the NFL. Starts making the Pro Bowls and everything of that nature. Now he's retired, going about his life. But on Green Light with Chris Long, the podcast, Michael Bennett was on the show and Devin McCourty. They were having a conversation, and I believe the conversation was about police brutality and social injustice. And the conversation was going in a very, a meaningful convo there. And I think Chris Long is using his platform in a beautiful fashion to have those conversations that we've had in locker rooms and hopefully maybe open some people's eyes about things that are happening that maybe you don't know about if you don't live in the neighborhood and things of that nature. And Michael Bennett came out of left field, bang, in the middle of this conversation and said something that we are now talking about when it doesn't come to police brutality or anything. When we're talking strictly football talk, this is something that has to be addressed. Michael Bennett, in the middle of this conversation, do we have the
Yep.
All right, do we have the thing? Yes, so I want to read the entire conversation just so you know that Michael Bennett had this on his heart. Michael Bennett had this on his mind. He had this on the tip of his tongue. Chris Long is saying, look, I look at the Carson Wentz situation. Someone I always do have it in him if you play with Carson. He's a good guy, but you don't know if he has the intestinal fortitude to be that first one to step over the line. And I think that was about equality and things of that nature. Michael Bennett cuts him off and goes, Nick Foles is better. Just in the middle. Look, dash. I haven't heard this clip in its entirety. I've just seen the quotes written out. Dash. He was not finished with that sentence. And Michael Bennett's like, well, now that we have you here, Nick Foles is better. Long goes, oh, he said Nick Foles is better. Devin McCourty laughs. Bennett goes, keep going with your statement, whatever you're going to say. Keep going. As a sidebar, it seems to matter what time you were on, too, because it didn't go well in Jacksonville with Nick Foles. Yeah. I'm just saying, Bennett goes. And Bennett's basically like, get back to what you were talking about. I just wanted to get this out there that Nick Foles is better than Carson Wentz. And then goes, you're the worst. You're trying to have a serious conversation and you want to divide Philly in half. I love both those mother effers. Let me both sides that. There's no both sidesing on police brutality to me, but on the Nick Foles, Carson Wentz, by the way, good hosting there, by the way.
Yeah.
Good hosting there, by the way, doing that whole thing. I'm going to straddle the line like a effing champ. Bennett played with Foles and Wentz during 2018 season before he signed with the Cowboys, and he went 4-1 with Nick Foles as a starter. This was not the Super Bowl year. This was the year after the Super Bowl year where Nick Foles had to start some games. He won 4-1. Michael Bennett was on that team before he got shipped down to Dallas to play down there. And there's always been the thought of, in my eyes, they picked Carson Wentz, the man they drafted in the first round, over the guy that won them a Super Bowl whenever the person that they picked in the first round got hurt after going on an MVP campaign. Carson Wentz was on an MVP-like campaign. He was on a rocket rocket ship. Sorry about that, Don in Westwood 1. Rocket ship up to the top of class of quarterback conversation. He really was with that Philadelphia Eagles team. He gets hurt in LA or whatever. Nick Foles comes in, and all of a sudden, Nick Foles becomes this super quarterback. The perfect player for the team that they were. They were this underdog team. Nick Foles was this underdog quarterback. He got casted off, basically, went out into the woods with his brother-in-law. He was thinking about retiring, decides to come back, goes back to Philadelphia after getting kicked out of Philadelphia because of Chip Kelly years, and he's his backup quarterback, and he goes and wins the Super Bowl and has the gumption in the Super Bowl to say, hey, how about Philly, by the way? Makes a call to the head coach in one of the biggest situations of the biggest game that he will ever play. Now there's a statue up because of it. There's an entire situation. Nick Foles is his hero. Carson Wentz's MVP season has basically been forgotten about because Big Richard Nick Foles has come in. There's people eating horse poop on the streets during parades. They're knocking down things. There's all this celebration in Philadelphia for the first time in 50 years. A Super Bowl is won there. Next season. Well, who's going to be the guy? Is it going to be Carson Wentz or is it going to be Nick Foles? Nick Foles won you a Super Bowl, called to play in the Super Bowl to win you the game, basically. They had a statue of the damn guy. Who's going to be your starter? They come out and say, Carson Wentz is our starter, but he's not cleared yet, so Nick Foles will start. Nick Foles comes out, wins the game early, does the whole thing. Carson Wentz gets back in. This is coming off an entire, year almost of being off. So no rust has been shook off from Carson Wentz in the game. That's when Michael Bennett's there. He ends up getting hurt again. He sits out a game. Nick Foles comes back in, wins again in Chicago for the double doink game whenever the ball was blocked and nobody talked about that. Then he goes down to New Orleans and they had a touchdown to win that playoff game. They would have been back in the NFC Championship game with Nick Foles at the quarterback, but instead ball was dropped. Saints end up winning or whatever. And they send Nick Foles to Jacksonville.
Jeez.
They could have re-signed him. They chose not to re-sign him. They go to Nick Foles. So now the entire conversation is, so they picked Carson Wentz over Nick Foles. That's what they did. So Carson Wentz now has to carry all this weight on his shoulder. Like, okay, the guy that I helped get to the Super Bowl, by the way, I put them in a position to be there. Now, would Nick Foles have been able to do that his entire season with Philadelphia? Maybe, we don't know. But Carson Wentz knows that the conversation is, you haven't won a Super Bowl. Nick Foles has won a Super Bowl, even though you have a Super Bowl ring. And I would assume Carson Wentz and Nick Foles are good friends, but that chatter has to leak into Carson Wentz's ears at some point. So now he's playing, and the conversation, if they don't win a Super Bowl or go to the playoff, last year their entire team got hurt. Carson Wentz was doing everything he possibly could, but they didn't make it as far as they did with Nick Foles, a quarterback. So the conversation is, was this the right decision? Was this the right decision? Now you got Michael Bennett coming out and being like, hey, for what it's worth, I was there. Nick Foles is better. Nick Foles gets $175 million from Jacksonville. He gets hurt throwing a touchdown for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gardner Minshew comes in. They trade him out of town to Chicago. Now, could this thing come full circle? The Eagles with Nick Foles are the ones that double doinked and blocked the kick that sent the Bears home, and it put him in an interesting spiral down. Now, is he going to be the starting quarterback? Because I do believe if you look at his history of what he has played and how he has played in his last, let's say 15 games, Nick Foles is an absolute superstar, and Michael Bennett believes that's the case as well.
Yeah, I think the issue with Carson now in his career, like the year of the Super Bowl, the year after where Foles had to play, last year where McCown had to come into the playoff game and play with a torn hamstring, like he just hasn't been able to stay healthy for a full year to prove like that he can play. Like, because the year that he got hurt and they won the Super Bowl, he was in the MVP conversation before he got hurt. So he just needs to put together a full season to show everyone that that's what he can do.
He's going to have to win a Super Bowl. Carson Wentz is going to have to do, he got paid over $100 million. They sent Nick Foles out of town, so there was no more conversation about who's the starter, who's not, whose locker room is this. He's going to have to win a Super Bowl, and that is a very difficult task. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that win Super Bowls, especially when Tom Brady's playing and Patrick Mahomes playing in the same time. That's going to be difficult, but that's what everybody's going to expect, and until that happens, this conversation is going to continue, especially when old teammates are like, yep, Nick Foles, by the way. He's better than that guy who was in the MVP conversation twice now. Nick Foles is the guy. That's why he's a Super Bowl MVP. That's why there's a statue for him. That's why Jacksonville paid him what he is. Now Jacksonville's trying to get him out of town and send him up to Chicago. But maybe the Chicago Bears sign Ted Ginn. They bring in Nick Foles. You know, maybe Nagy's up there trying to cook up something a little bit special after last year's disappointing season for everybody in the Midland.
With Carson Wentz, too, it seems like they're stripping away a lot of like the potential excuses people would use for him for next year. Like they brought in all these guys on offense so they don't have, like CFL level players that he's throwing to. Like they're shoring up the defense. It seems like this year is kind of like his defining year.
And if he gets hurt again, which he has gotten hurt, and it's not, I don't think it's fair to say that people are injury prone. especially older players, like, well, he's injury prone. He's like, well, sometimes things happen that are out of your control. But Carson Wentz has been injury prone. I mean, that is just something that is the case. So the Jalen Hurts drafting makes sense because you don't have McCown there anymore. You don't have Foles there. You're going to need a viable backup because if history has shown us anything, it's that Carson Wentz is going to miss a few games. And those games, by the way, when Nick Foles were there, were won. And that is why this conversation even is happening. We got to get to another break. Has Darius Slayton called back?
We have talked to, they're trying to get to his, like, what he calls people, PR people. I don't know what they're called. But we have not reached him yet, no.
By the way, that is, I believe you just hit the nail right on the head there. PR people.
I thought it was RP people. I was getting confused.
Oh, yeah.
Reps.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay.
That is funny. PR, RP, reps, personal relations.
Yeah, representative.
Yeah, I mean, there's an E in there. If you had to.
What?
Personal relations.
Yeah. All right, 30 minutes after the hour. This is the dumbest show of all time. But I feel like we gave two of the best NFL takes anybody's had today.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, listen, Carson Wentz had a hell of a season last year. Had a hell of an MVP run before Nick Foles went in there. But Nick Foles is the guy that got the job done. It takes a special person to not only call your own number in a pivotal point, but to go up to a coach and say, hey, we should do this. That is the type of person, by the way, that you want leading. Not every quarterback has that. There's a lot of great quarterbacks that don't have that. The ability to, take the bull by the horns. It's a metaphor. It's something that not a lot of people can do. I think Nick Foles, his NFL story, his football life that they eventually make is going to be one of the best.
See you later, Mitch.
Yeah, it does feel like Mitchell Trubisky is probably in a bad
Sorry.
spot. If Nagy is really saying this is a open competition, especially with the offense that Nagy's going to try to run, I feel like that is right in Foles' wheelhouse.
Yep.
They wouldn't move Mitchell Trubisky last year. That was the big deal. Nick Foles is an athlete, but everything about Mitchell Trubisky was he was an athlete. They had him out of the pocket the year before that when he was number 3 overall QBR. Last year, none of that happened. It seemed like he wanted to be a little bit more passing. Mitchell got a little bit doubted himself early, turned off the TVs, can't even see his body. I mean, there's a lot of stuff to do. Nick Foles just been sitting there like, hey, man, I just got replaced by Minshew Mania down in Jacksonville, and Carson Wentz guy won a Super. They have a statue for me. They kicked me out of town. Nick Foles is about to maybe dominate in Chicago.
Deathly accurate, Nick Foles.
He can throw it in a bucket.
Oh, yeah.
Got hurt on a touchdown.
Threw a touchdown.
In the back of the corner of the end zone.
Big Richard Nick Foles might be on a tear for the Chicago Bears. Bear down next year, or he could get hurt again. Nobody knows, but same thing could happen to Carson Wentz. That's why that conversation is a never-ending one. 31 minutes after the hour, this is the Pat McAfee Show, Wednesday, June 10th. I'd also potentially taken over their 30 edibles because I thought more teammates of mine were going to want to indulge in that either before the game or after the game. And to get to London, you go through your own TSA here. The team has TSA that you have to check in. Here's my passport. The Colts already have it. They took it all from everybody. It's literally you get your bags checked and then you're through. Put them in a little thing. We're good to go. It's the team's TSA. Get on the bus, fly over there. I forgot all about them. Didn't utilize them at all because how things quickly changed.
Right.
After we lose to the Jacksonville Jaguars, we're on the team bus. They go, hey, we're going through Heathrow Airport through the real-life TSA. And at that moment, I look around. I go, oh, no. I have some things in my bag right now that have vitamins in them. I have to get rid of them. And at that point, I'd whittled it down to like 15 of them. And I look at Vinatieri, and I'm like, buddy, not good. He was like, what are you going to do? I was like, I guess I'm just going to throw them away in here. Couldn't do that because right next to the trash can was an English police officer. So I couldn't just walk up and dump a bunch of edibles into the thing next to the guy. He's going to ask questions. We're going to the Heathrow Airport. Now I got to do what I got to do. We finally get there. Police escorts, a lot going on. So I just take down 13 edibles.
Yikes.
See you later. Vinatieri looks at me and goes, how you doing, bub? I was like, good now, but things are about to happen. He goes, I got you, little buddy. I'm like, thank you. So we go through the little check-in thing. And right before we get to the scan of the bags thing, it all hits me. I might as well have been on Cloud 45 over there in London. They check my bag, boom, boom, boom. I get selected. Something was in my bag. So now all of a sudden I'm like, oh no, did I leave a couple in there? Oh my God. Vinatieri starts walking ahead. He turns around. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, they got my bag, man. He's like, what's going on? I'm like, I have no idea. So he comes and stands with me. He's like, I got you, bub. I was like, they might got me, for real. I might be staying the night in England. They go through my bag. Turns out, had a vibrating toothbrush. Thing was vibrating in my bag.
Yep.
They're like, oh, it must have been this. Or it must have been my big-ass toothpaste because you can't fly with that. I was like, you got it, pal. I get all the way back to the plane. Lost my ticket somewhere. Somehow I don't have a ticket. So now I got to check into the gate people that I don't have a ticket. I'm like, I'm on this plane. I promise I am, but I don't have a ticket. They're like, what's your name? I'm like, Patrick McAfee. McAfee? No, yeah, whatever you want to call me. I just need a ticket. So now I have to sit there and wait as somebody brings me a ticket from the front while my entire team walks by me, knowing that I'm on cloud 50, just having a good time. Grigson walks by, just upset, obviously. I wish he would have known that I was in a mood where he should have talked to me there. It was just a nightmare. The London trip for me from beginning to end was not good, and I think that happens for a lot of NFL players.
Dance with me. Dance with me.
Welcome back to the Pat McAfee Show. I have no idea how long we were live for there. That's on us. Sorry about that. Okay, just a few seconds for being told. That's on us. We're having a great conversation over here. Big Ben Roethlisberger is in the process of unblocking every human that he has blocked on Twitter. Attaboy, Ben.
Good job, Ben.
Attaboy, Ben.
Full circle.
I do believe that this has potentially become a real talking point by a lot of people because he's blocked me before. Mm-hmm. I've complimented Big Ben as a quarterback for sure, but I've obviously pointed out some other things that he's done off the field that I think is the reason why he is not in the elite quarterback conversation, which he should be, because if you look at his numbers, this son of a bitch is good at football. I mean, that's just what he is. But it's all the stuff, throwing a quarterback or throwing the wide receivers under the bus on some local radio shows, even if you meant to do it or not, things that I've said that, and that got me blocked some. I've never even tweeted the guy or anything like that. I woke up one day, I was told to go look at Ben Roethlisberger's tweet because he just put a video out of him and his family and the beard and everything like that. I go try to look it out. You are blocked from this account. I'm like, excuse me. Jeez. So I say I'm blocked from the account. Diggs goes, Diggs, one of the biggest Steelers fans I've ever encountered in my life. He blocked me too, bub. Yeah, and then you go around, I think, with a lot of sports media people, like, oh, he's blocked me too. He's blocked me. I think that's like a thing now. Is like, by the way, which adds to what I was saying. All the off-the-field stuff is the only reason why Ben Roethlisberger isn't talked about as being one of, just like Jameis Winston, no, I'm joking, but one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time because what he does on the field is massive. This is a big deal. He's unblocking people. I can't wait to see his Twitter on a daily basis.
Huge. It just shows his growth as a human being and as a man. and what's upcoming for the season. But yeah, I don't.
Yeah, but in growth, you're not talking about physically because he's gotten thinner somehow because he was once a big fat ass.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, which he played great football during those times.
Won
as well.
Super Bowl. I mean, he was a great football player, as a big fat ass, but he has gotten in the best shape of his life. And this is not growth as his body, but we're talking about as a human
being and as a leader in the locker room. But yeah, I've been on record as saying that I would donate whatever body part he needs to him so that he can have a successful season without injury. So I don't know why.
The way he plays football, though, there's no chance he gets injured.
Well,
there's no chance he doesn't get injured.
Yeah.
I mean, that is why he's so good, by the way.
Growth as a quarterback, he's going to make smarter decisions, I believe, with the.
I think those are smart decisions. Whenever he hangs on to it for, 45 seconds back
For us,
there,
yeah.
and he's just getting absolutely slaughtered by defensive linemen, then he throws somehow with two people on him a 75-yard touchdown. I mean, these are things that not a lot of humans on earth can do. I don't know if anybody can do what Ben Roethlisberger was able to do whenever Ben Roethlisberger was doing Roethlisberger things. And he was at a weight and a stature that nobody would have guessed him to be at for the way he was playing. Now he's in the best shape of his life, and he's unblocking people. Are we about to see the best Ben Roethlisberger of all time? Potentially.
Yeah, Diggs, I mean this with no disrespect intended, but I don't think any part of your body is an upgrade to Ben's.
Even his broken foot, because you break your foot every time you parkour, Pop. You do some extreme walking, you're in a wheelchair for 2 days.
Couldn't play in the rain.
I disagree. I respectfully disagree.
Would you donate your beard?
This arm still has a lot of throws in it.
No, one or two. Great throws.
No. The arm is always fine.
Right,
the rest of the body, yeah.
That good.
Here we go.
That good.
Yeah, what do you even do?
You know what, though? You did walk 40 miles. Is this a new Diggs?
Oh.
Have you grown as a person?
Like Ben, we are on the same career path.
People forget that during this quarantine, at one point during this quarantine, you got on a treadmill.
This year?
That was this quarantine. You got on a treadmill for 24 hours, actually 22 hours or something like that, and walked 40 miles. Unbelievable feat that nobody thought you could accomplish.
No.
You made some money, gave some money away. I mean, that was a good thing. Maybe we should respect your athletic ability a little bit more, even though you tried to jump off a rock and do a parkour thing in Atlanta and were sidelined for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I never did parkour before, and I'll never do it again.
Hey,
it's not easy.
Hey, those parkour sons of bitches are the rabbit holes to get into on the internet.
Parkour.
We have humans walking around right now that you don't even know. They might be like 4'5" too. You don't even realize. And the things that they're putting on the internet are superhuman stuff. Double standing backflips are happening on the earth that we walk around right now. I can barely get up to take a poop after a big squat day. There's somebody that's standing on their bed without using their legs or their arms, just jumping off their ass and doing a backflip. That's on the internet right now.
Can we just create that show now, the parkour tag? 20 stories up high. They're on top of a building, and they're just playing tag.
Because they jump. They're not scared to do building-to-building jumps with death on the other side of a stumble, which I do believe does happen in that world.
Yeah.
Charge it to the game, they say. Just like the squirrel suits, the flying squirrel suits. They charge it to the game. I don't know how they do it. I respect it. I'm happy I'm not somebody that does it. The USC, University of Southern California. By the way, if you live in the South, USC is South Carolina.
Yeah, it's so weird.
I did not know that because USC, through my high school years and through college, was the USC over there that had Matt Leinart, Ray Maluga,
Carson Palmer.
You remember Ray Maluga over there?
Oh man, they had
Clay
a lot
Matthews,
of good linebackers.
Brian Cushing,
Dwayne
Reggie
Jarrett.
Bush, Dwight Jarrett,
Frosty Rucker,
John David Booty.
Yeah, anyways.
Troy Palmer.
Troy Palmer was there a little bit earlier than that. But yeah, USC was USC. I went down to the South, and they said USC was a close game for us. Where I was, you guys played USC? They're like, play USC every year. It's the SEC game or whatever. I'm like, USC's in the SEC now.
When did that happen?
They're like, South Carolina. I'm like, oh, because my USC is Southern California. So 10 years ago, USC had to completely sever ties to Reggie Bush because of his family receiving money to stay in an apartment in Southern California while Reggie Bush was putting USC on the map every single week. Every single week, Reggie Bush was doing something that was insane. His college highlight reel is right up there next to Pat White's, right up there next to Tim Tebow's. We're talking about so many prolific plays in so many primetime moments that led to so many eyes on USC, the school, the program, everything of that nature. He was on top of the world, wins the Heisman, and at some point, a booster paid for his family to live in an apartment. His family probably couldn't afford an apartment in Southern California whenever he was earning, I would say, hundreds of millions and millions of dollars for USC. So the NCAA forced them to not only take back his Heisman, sever ties with USC. USC can't even say, like Reggie Bush went to school here, Reggie can't come back to any games or anything like that. That makes sense, by the way, NCAA. This is why the NCAA is hated by everybody, because they're like, yeah, the guy that went to school there can't even go back there, can't even do it. He won a Heisman and put them on the map for a long time. He's not even allowed to go back there. You're not even allowed to say he went here because his family members who couldn't afford something were given money by somebody who was ridiculously wealthy, who is benefiting directly from his actions on a football field. They aren't allowed to do that. So now here we are 10 years later. The whatever it was has been lifted. The ban has been lifted. And now Reggie and USC are coming back together in a beautiful fashion. USC just posted out a highlight reel of basically from Reggie Bush at the Army All-American game choosing to go to USC, to his highlights at USC, to him talking about USC. I mean, that when you think USC, you think Reggie Bush, and now after 10 years, they're finally allowed to act like they know each other, and this is a beautiful thing for everybody.
It's a wild situation. So Reggie obviously does not blame the school then for this.
By the way, this is a Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers situation. Mm-hmm. It is not USC's fault that the NCAA put them in this situation. I assume USC feels that way about Reggie too. Like, hey, what you did obviously wasn't, we're not allowed to do anything because, big hole of the ass, NCAA is not letting us. They are back together. This is a beautiful thing, and I can't wait for more and more highlights of Reggie Bush to roll out here for potentially a generation that didn't get to see what Reggie Bush did on the football field for USC.
Is that potentially the reason why USC has fallen off, because they haven't been able to use Reggie Bush as a marketing figure for their recruitment?
And they're not even allowed to show his highlights. They're not even allowed to show the guy's highlights. Yeah, I would assume that's a reason why. And also, I thought there's potentially the reason could be because they were going to shut down that whole state and USC wasn't even going to be allowed to play sports with anybody else. But now that has been lifted, obviously, by the Newsom governor. Joining us now is a man who's going to give us some Bundesliga locks. Ooh. He can't be here in person because Canada has it on lockdown, but he is calling in from up there in cold-ass Canada to make us some more money. If you weren't here earlier, Warwick from Australia gave us some AFL locks. Those are the Richmond Tigers to win, -165. Jack Higgins, who's coming back from brain surgery 1 year ago, -165 to score a goal. Brisbane Lions -18.5 to get the win, and Ascendant at +112 to get the win. Those can all be found on FanDuel. Shout out to the AFL being back. Shout out to the Bundesliga. I watched a game yesterday in the Bundesliga. I think I played in that stadium as a teenager.
What?
Pretty cool little moment for me. I'm not sure if that's the stadium I played in or if a lot of them look that way because I never watch Bundesliga games. But a man who does and knows a lot about it to give us some locks about Bundesliga soccer, our Canadian friend, Gumpy.
Hey, pal. I'm locked in Canada, so here's some of my locks.
All right, Gump, what do we got, pal?
How we doing, boys?
Chris Sims said that Jared Stidham is a better quarterback than Tua Tagovailoa. I assume that kicked you right in the sack when he said that.
Chris Sims does a lot of things, doesn't he?
Hey, Chris Sims does say a lot of things. But Chris Sims has been right in the past, and I think he probably does a lot of his homework, saying that Jared Stidham is better than Tua is going to be one that's going to be judged forever, especially because the AFC East is going to be a stand down there for a long time. The Miami Dolphins could potentially be back, but let's talk about Bundesliga, Gumpy. Who we betting on?
We got La Liga coming back tomorrow, Pat.
What the hell is that?
Ooh, Spanish.
Spanish.
Oh,
Real.
Here we go.
Real Betis at Sevilla. Sevilla's third in the table. Very good squad. Their money line -115. This is a very good play here.
Sevilla -115. Okay. -115. Why'd you say that other team's name first? Because I thought you were picking that team when you said Betis.
Oh, sorry. It was Real Betis at Sevilla.
Sorry.
Okay, and Sevilla's going to get the win here?
Yeah, Real Betis is 12th in the table. Sevilla's third, so this line seems a little bit low to me.
Okay, who else do we got?
Saturday, we go back to the Bundesliga with Hertha Berlin.
Hertha Berlin. Oh, we bet on them before, I think.
Money line +105. They're playing Frankfurt. Berlin's only lost one game since they've returned, and it was 1-0 loss to Dortmund, and they played really well.
And I think that was when we bet on them. We lost there, but the Frankfurt airport might be the greatest airport on planet Earth.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
Free beers.
What?
Oh,
how?
I landed. Well,
Free beers.
I paid a lot of money for the ticket I was in or whatever, but I had free beers. 8:30 a.m. I was over there pouring these beers over there, and the Germans were laughing at me, obviously, because there was so much foam because those things are so thick. Some sweet old lady who was in there, like, nudged me out of the way. She told me it was a little bit early for this, but she'll help. And she poured me this entire thing. And then I made that thing disappear in front of her, and I gave it back to her. Oh, got a big pop from the German people. Literally within 3 minutes of landing there. Felt like I was at home there with the beers. There was pretzel there. Frankfurt Airport is very nice.
You going around the bar and pouring them yourself? Or?
Yeah, you have your own. There's like an entire thing. You just walk up and pour it to yourself. Yeah. By the way, I don't remember anything else about that airport except for that, so I might be wrong on the judgment of whether it's the coolest airport of all time. Coolest airport of all time.
Look at Mitt, his mouth's watering over there.
Yeah, Mitt's like, I'll get on that. I'm flying to Germany for that. All right, what else we got?
We're going back with Dortmund, Pat.
Let's go.
-1 at Dusseldorf. Dusseldorf has won 6 games all year. Dortmund 17-2-6 straight up as favorites. Dortmund -1 at -110.
All right, so we got Salvia, we got Hertha Berlin, and we got Dortmund -1. Is that accurate?
You got it, pal. 12 plays all weekend long. Soccer's all the way back, Pat.
At Bubba Gumpino, you'll be making bets for locks for other things. I have rode the Gumpino wave to a lot of money on my FanDuel account. Every once in a while, he's come on this show and let the millions and millions of people who watch this down. But not today. We can't thank you enough. Locked in Canada, our friend Gumpy. Thank you.
Miss you, pal.
Hey, pal. I'm locked in Canada, so here's some of my locks.
I miss that man. He's
So
just
do
a
I.
breath of fresh
Yeah,
air. Let's
need
get
him
to
back.
one more phone call here before we get out of here. Let's go to RJ in Pennsylvania. He's been on the phone for over an hour. RJ, what's going on, bub?
Hey, how's it going, boys?
Not too shabby. How are
I wanted to get
you?
your thoughts on our boy Justin Thomas this week at the Charles Shaw Challenge at 16-1. He's ready to bear down.
Bear down.
I'll tell you what, Justin Thomas might be riding high because the world likes him.
Oh, yeah.
The world hated him there for a long time. Then he was the on-course commentator for the challenge or the matchup or whatever the hell it's called, and he won me over. I liked his personality a lot. I liked the way he talked. Called anybody, hey, TD, hey, TS, hey, NK, hey, T-Dub. Too much of that for if I was to be around him on a regular basis. Well, I think I'd probably be like, okay, let me get out of here, and I'd probably be too much for him, too, if I had to guess. He was yelling at people for yelling at him at a golf tournament. But he won a lot of people over at that challenge. He might be riding his confidence high, and everybody knows golf is 1,000% revolved around your confidence if you know how to swing a damn club. Maybe JT at 16-1 is a good bet.
Also, JT, great iron player. This course this weekend is not a big bombers course. It takes the driver out of the hand, so it plays kind of to JT's strengths as far as irons and short game.
Oh, that's why T-Dub got out. I still think Mickelson's going to win this weekend, especially after coming off of that matchup loss against Tiger and Peyton. I think he's probably going to play. And now that you're saying it's an iron thing, I mean, that's hellacious seeds is all Phil Mickelson does.
Oh, yeah.
He's got the best wedge game in the history of golf. So maybe JT at 16-1. Mickelson, what's Mickelson's odds there this
they
weekend?
are deep down. I will find them.
Nice.
Yeah, okay, there's two good
we
bets.
go.
Plus, we
Value.
got some AFL bets. Plus, we got some soccer bets. If you can't tell, we are excited about wagering on these sports that we have no real horses in the race. But as soon as you put money on it, guess what happens? We now have a favorite.
Phil's plus 9,500.
Oh, yeah. Hammer it.
Wow.
Good value.
Put the village on it.
9.5 to 1 there. Let's do it. I love that. 52 minutes after the hour. We got what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 bets for people to potentially make a lot of money here in the next couple of days. What's up, Z?
Random bet from the chat. Bet $10 on Kisner to win $900.
$10 on Kisner to win 900.
Seems like a good bet.
We met Kisner, didn't we?
Yeah, rough and rowdy.
Yeah.
He's having a good time.
He was slaughtered, right?
Blacked out.
As he come out of that
I know
blackout.
that guy.
It was amazing to watch him go. I mean, he had a great
He was
time.
140 beers deep.
By the way, that is not a knock.
No.
In my eyes, that is more that is more of a lift up for old Kiss.
I think he actually got kicked out.
Yeah.
It was either the group he was in, I believe. It wasn't just
No,
Kiss.
they didn't have more beer in the stadium, so he just left.
Okay, so Kiz, JT, and Mickelson are who we're picking to win Charles Schwab Challenge. The AFL is back tomorrow morning, 5:30. DVR that thing. We got some soccer bets both in Spain and in Germany. Shout out to the Frankfurt Airport in Germany for giving me 4 or 5 pints of beer there. And now I can't thank you enough for watching and listening to this show on Wednesday, June 10th. We are the dumbest show in sports. We know that. We very much understand that. But I feel like every once in a while we get things right. We get a lot of things wrong. We get some things right. And the fact that you listen and watch this show, we can't thank you enough for it. There's a lot of other options to penetrate your eyeballs and your ear holes. The fact that you allow us to do it for a couple hours every single day, we can't thank you enough. McAfee Hawk is off today. It'll be back tomorrow, as will we. Tomorrow morning, same Pat time, same Pat channel. This has been the Pat McAfee Show, Wednesday, June 10th from Indianapolis, Indiana! Okay, here we go. This guy has been dreadful at his recapping of the subjects that we have talked about on a day-to-day, show-to-show basis.
Yeah.
Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, we have an intern in the office. The last 2 times he has ended it in incredibly offensive fashion.
Terrible.
What will Mullet Mitt do today with Mullet Mitt's intern minutes Wednesday, June 10th? Good luck out there, Mitt.
All right, we got the Fight Island card in Abu Dhabi we talked about.
Hey, that's just like Roethlisberger, just like Diggs, just like all of us, growing from your mistakes and getting better and unblocking people. Way to go.
Well, we talked about how you view that kind of a weak card. We have the...
I said
what
people
the
are super.
fuck are you talking about?
No, that's not going to be. This is not going to be a stop because I honestly believe you do this on purpose, so you don't have to write down anything for the entire. So we're not going to stop you for that. But I did not say it was a weak card. People that know things about things said it was a weak card.
People are saying, man.
People are saying.
Come on,
listening.
People are saying it's
I-
a weak card.
Hey, if those 2 dudes and ladies want to get in there and battle it out for life or death, I have the utmost respect for it. But the people who watch a lot of it said, these cards, not very exciting, is what they said, not me. Please correct the minutes in that particular fashion.
Okay, well, strike down to the minutes. People are
From the minutes.
Are you just a buffoon?
Hey, Mitt, don't let Ty say that. Stay focused. You are mentally tougher than this. You're going to be good. Let's go, Mitt. Let's go for it.
All right, people that know the UFC are kind of saying it's a weak card.
Yeah! Boy, Mitt!
So, we talked about a smaller octagon. It's causing better fights, having more seats in the stands. We talked about the UFC's rights with ESPN, their rebrand, and a warpath to the top. Dan Le Batard wanting to fight Dana White for charity.
Here we go. Here we go, Mitt. Here we go.
Come on, man. Social workouts are not really Pat's thing. Pat is a big Daniel Cormier guy. 6 shirt Nick, 6 shirt Foxy. Congrats on all your high draft picks. Is Michael Jordan the GOAT of basketball fishing, or is LeBron coming to his throne?
No, he is coming for the throne.
Oh, yeah, big time.
We had Jeff Passan come on wearing some normal clothes, talked about Pat's Yankee beer chug, the chugging contest for Jet Passan and you has been proposed.
Yep.
You have decided to actually come out of retirement from the beer chugging game. Accepted.
Congrats. Well, it's not Mika, it's the chug coming out of the retirement. You got to remember the chug is its own entity. Okay, that thing gets me in a lot of very interesting situations, both inside my stomach and outside in real life. But the chug had to be retired, had to be set away, because there's another generation of chuggers that show up to places and down things in spectacular fashion, and the energy and environment rises to their feet, and the energy is at a level that is palpable, and the chug had to be retired because there's another generation. And to be honest, I got sick of chugging 25 to 30 beers anytime I went in public where beers were available and people knew that I could chug, because said younger generation, who actually isn't the generation of chuggers that they think they are. Now, granted, there are some greats that I cannot keep up with that are younger than me, but there's a lot in the younger generation that have been told by their friends that they're good chuggers. So then they come popping off at me and I'm like, excuse me, you need to relax right there. Oh, you won't do it right now? I mean, I just chugged 15 beers, but I will do it right now because this is a little lesson to you to go take to your friends. And when we were doing that tailgate show with Barstool,
oh yeah.
By the way, that show should have survived. I mean, that energy was
electric.
Fucking electric. I mean, it was insane every single time we went out there. Portnoy put that vision together, and the people that would show up at that thing, I mean, obviously there were some tech issues. We went through an entire show with no sound, but the energy at those shows was fucking unbelievable. And I would end each show with a chug against somebody. I lost one time, I think, because we were so hungover. I mean, we got after it the night before in a lot of these places, but the chug thing became its own game. And the people that were picked to chug against me from the schools that we go to, there was a couple that started popping off on Twitter, and their friends started like talking shit to me. They started talking shit to me, like very, very mean things. And I'm like, excuse me. When I beat you, I would also like your fucking dumbass friends to get up here. And that was a real thing that happened on a very regular basis.
The one time you lost, it was a tall boy, and they didn't tell you because it was in a mug.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, by the way, if you're a chugger, there's two different strategies. Well, for me, for instance, there's two different strategies for a 12-ounce and then a 16-ounce. That's 4 ounce. That is a massive difference for how you attack said chug. So they gave me a 16-ounce. I thought it was a 12-ounce because the cup and how it felt. So I went with 12-ounce rules, which, by the way, a 12-ounce for me, I can dump the entire thing down my face. It's that 13th ounce that really gets me. So you have to adjust accordingly. You have to do a 2 chugger. You have to do a 2 gulper, 8 ounces into each, you would think. I wasn't told. I lost straight. That guy was a good chugger, though. That was a good 16-ounce chug. Mm-hmm. But I've retired it because there are much better chuggers than I out in the world. And at 21, 22, 23, I was a much better chugger than I am now, I would assume, because I put it away. But back in the day, man, it used to be awesome. We're talking like... Back in the day, it'd be like 40 beers a night I'd be chugging against people.
Jeez.
Just because, like, whenever somebody would talk shit to me, I had to answer. Like, it wasn't like, oh, I'll get you tomorrow, because then what am I? Then that person walks away saying, oh, that person didn't even want to chug. They tell a story about it, and I'm like, well, that's not going to fucking happen. We got to do this right now. And that is potentially why I think I'm going to die young, because those things were happening like 2-3 times a week at one point.
It was awesome. Yeah, like I said, first time I ever traveled with you, really kind of just getting to know you. We're at Gillette Stadium, and every single person wanted to chug against you, and you never said no. And then the whole Barstool Tailgate thing, you never said no to anyone. So then it would stack up. Literally, I shit you not, 20 plus beers.
So then every time I would go in public where there was beers available, everybody and their mom would be like, I want to chug against you. I can chug better than you. I got a friend who's going to chug better than you. And I wasn't mature enough to be like, oh, yeah, probably, man. Okay, have a good one. I was always like, all right, fucking bring the beers over here. You want a shotgun? I just need a cup. Let's go for it. But I had to retire it because there was a younger generation that was better than me. But there's a lot in the younger generation that aren't and pop off, and they will run into the younger generation studs that'll bury them someday, I hope. And it feels like Jeff Passan is potentially in that group of few people. Now, granted,
he'll get it.
Jet could be a great chugger, though. We don't know.
We don't know.
I mean, and you got to respect everybody. For instance, I didn't respect the homeless-looking man that was down in Jacksonville whenever we were down there for the Gator Bowl, where he was sitting at the end of the bar, and he basically put out a challenge that he'd buy our whole team. There was like 15 of us from WVU there. He was like, I got everybody's beers for the night if any of you can out-chug me. And all my friends were like, we got the fucking guy. Back on chug against this guy. I'm like, no problem. I'm already a little bit drunk at this point. This old man had a beard sitting at the edge of at the end of the bar. He and I both have a chug, and we go cheers. And my move was I would always watch how they started, right? So I would watch how they started to see how it was going to go. And by the time I watched him, that shit was already gone, and I was halfway done. He slammed the thing down. We had to buy his tab, and he walked out. Like, that's a move I'd assume he does on a regular basis.
Oh, yeah.
I was never more impressed with somebody. In that ride back to the hotel after that, boy, that was tough. Oh, the fucking bum who hasn't had nutrients in 30 years just put you in your not so fast now, little chug boy or whatever. And it was the first time that I ever lost in a, hey, I'll buy all your drinks if you can out chug, because that was something we used on a very regular occasion. And I didn't puke much either. That got me in trouble October 20th, 2010, because the doctor that put me into the substance of abuse policy for 27 months told me that I should have puked. If this was an anomaly and you didn't normally drink like this, you should have puked at some point, and there was no vomit found on you or near you in this entire situation. And I wanted to be like, well, yeah, I used to chug fucking 50 beers a night. What do you want from me? I'm not going to do it. And then that would have put me in for even longer probably. But that's my life as a chugger.
So was that the first time you met Mitt's dad? Was that at the bar?
No, that was not Mitt's dad.
It was Foxy.
It wasn't.
It was Foxy's dad.
That's classic.
It is interesting, though. Chugging is like one of those things where everyone thinks they're the best at it. Like ping pong.
It's like cornhole.
Yeah, cornhole, ping pong. Oh, I'm the best. I'm the best. So then whenever I hear that when I'm with Pat, It's awesome.
Well, every group, by the way, has their
Their
fast drinking friend. Right?
Yeah.
Send the warrior in.
But I took a lot of pride in being able to chug beers there. Took a lot of pride in it.
Very mature stepping away. I mean, you can't be 35 beers deep before 1 p.m. 3-4 times a week.
It's a Jordan
Just
move.
can't do that as an adult.
You can't do it.
You can't do that as an adult. But there is kids out there that I'm happy they're carrying on the throne, that they are doing that currently. And that's very nice of them.
Someone's got it.
And I'm happy I got away from that, by the way. I would have been dead by now. I mean,
for sure.
Would have been dead by now.
You know what that was back in the day, like the chugging of each person in their group. It was like back in the day when they would call Achilles to fight the greatest fighter of their team.
Yeah. Please.
So they didn't have to go to war, and whoever fought one-on-one won.
Boagrius!
What was that? He got it
I
wrong.
was waiting for someone to give the Boagrius call because after Boagrius comes.
Achilles!
Yeah, I've never seen the movie.
Hercules.
Mullets, man.
In that situation, though, pass!
Yes.
And then you run out with a beer. Yeah.
What are we drinking?
Yeah.
Jets! And then Passan runs out.
I'm happy that I don't do it anymore, though. I am very excited. Those days were very hard the next day because there's sugar in beers and things of that nature. So that hangover started to get pretty mighty there for a while.
It was a Jordan move. Jordan wanted to walk away from the game. So did you. You didn't want to get dragged off the court.
It was a lot of fun to watch, though.
It was those Virginia Tech.
That's the one that came to my mind. Virginia Tech was insane.
Insane. And they do something where they throw beer cans, full beer cans at people. And if you catch it, you can get hit right in the face by a flying beer. Like it's just standard, normal operation. Like, you might get hit in the face by a beer can, but if you catch it, you immediately have to chug it.
Yeah.
So it's like their thing in their tailgate is just from one tailgate, maybe to 3 tailgates over, there'll be a beer toss. And it's like fire in a hole. Everybody puts their eyes up and then grabs it. And as soon as you grab it, you have to take it to the head. It is insane. It was a great time.
It was that show should have survived. It was so much fun.
It was a great time. But walking through there was, I think before we did the show, on the way over there, I think there was no less than 15 beer chug questions.
For sure.
So I do that. Then I do the show. Okay, so now I'm on the show, and those beers are hitting me at different times, obviously, during the show. And then you're told that these beers are potentially just going to get hucked at you. And we're in the front of the entire thing on a stage.
Yeah.
So beers are flying like past us at one point. There's this one dude on a school bus, standing on top of a school bus that they had on the back of the crowd. And I had sunglasses on because I was probably, those things were probably tough to open at the time. So I had sunglasses on. But this guy on top of this bus was thinking about throwing a beer. Like I saw him up there thinking about throwing a beer. And I think JSB was either in the middle of something or Dave was saying something. And I was looking at this person, and I had this entire thing mapped out in my head. He's going to throw a beer at this thing. I am going to snag that thing. And I even knew where my keys were. I was going to pull the keys out, and I was going straight to the thing, and I was going straight to it. And I was sitting there, and I was just staring at the guy, and I was trying to give him like a throw that thing.
Do it.
But if I do too much of this, I thought there would be another, 40 beers potentially gone. Virginia Tech was outrageously awesome.
And we were out till 4 that night. We had to wake up early because the scooter gang thing, which was the coolest thing ever, too.
Virginia Tech does not get enough credit for being a blast, but it is out there in the middle of. It is out there now. It is out. We went into a saloon the night before.
Yeah.
We were in a saloon, double door saloon.
Copperhead Road.
Yeah, that was when we learned about Copperhead Road. When Copperhead motherfucking Road hits in one of those smaller towns and there's a saloon, it's like ants to sugar. Whatever. They are just people that weren't even into saloon heard Copperhead Road start and came sprinting into double doors, and it was awesome. That show should have survived. That was a good show.
So much fun.
It was a good show. Good idea.
Well, really, thank
Lot
God
of
it
fun.
didn't, or else you would have probably had to have 800 beers every week.
Yeah, but I think for that show it would have been worth it just because of the environment was so late. Now, granted, I've gone on to see Joey Chestnut chug 13 beers in, what is it, a minute 15 or something like that. 13 pints of beer in a minute, whatever it was, minute 20, 70 seconds, whatever, minute 12, whatever it was. He did that in front of a 2,800-seat theater on New Year's Eve one night, and I have no idea how he did it. We would assume he'd just puke it all up afterwards. He did not. He actually tag team doubled down on that with some vodka.
He drank an entire bottle of vodka in 30 seconds.
Joey Chestnut, not only American hero for what he does with hot dogs, you should see what he does with beer. It is next level.
He'd never done it before either.
Never. He was in town, and we had known him through a couple of different things. Connor Daly knows him, IndyCar, who finished in 6th this last weekend. Good for Connor Daly finally getting a full-time ride, ending up 6th. But he was the connect there for Joey Chestnut. Joey Chestnut was in Indianapolis for New Year's for something. He was either doing a shrimp eating contest or a wing eating contest or something like
shrimp.
It was a shrimp eating contest, and I was having my New Year's Eve show. I was having my show at night with New Year's Eve party. We need to get back to doing that, by the way, because there's really nothing like it. I put on like a variety show basically with a bunch of different talent. We had a magician there.
Carl Magic.
There was a
Carl.
yeah, he was great. He was great. Then there was one of the best guitar players I've ever seen came out and played. There was some comedy. And then we had a party afterwards. It was a cool New Year's Eve. Expensive ticket, but it was a cool New Year's Eve. And Joey Chestnut, I was like, hey, any way you can stop by my show and maybe do something? He was like, I don't know if I'm allowed to or whatever. I'll come to the show and we'll figure it out. Then like a couple hours before, he sends me a text. He's like, yeah, I'll do something. What do you got going on or whatever? And I pitched the idea. I was like, maybe just chug a bunch of beers or something like that. Maybe chug like 5 beers or something like that. He comes back. He's like, let's do 13. I was like,
You got it.
okay. We'll do 13 beers. And I was like, have you ever done this before? He's like, no, but it'll be okay. And I was like, okay, you said it. And that son of a bitch lined up 13. Do we have the video? He lined up 13 pints of beer right across a mobile like shelving thing, and he just first one down, just like he takes down the hot dogs. By the way, it was like you see it go through his entire body. Second one down, third one down. He gets a half a dozen down, and it's like, what the? This guy's gonna go. And we're only 30 seconds into this thing. And then when he got to 10, 11, 12, and 13, he started like doing his like hot dog dance a little. Oh my God, I got to open up some more space. He finishes it. Place goes ape shit. By the way, because everybody's drinking throughout the entire night. We end the show that way. We walk off the stage. That's when the conversation happens. Like, Joe, are you gonna puke that up? He's like, no, I never puke anything up. It's kind of against the rules and things of that nature. And we're like, well, are you gonna eat some food or whatever? He's like, no, I don't think so. Maybe
Jimmy John's like 4 hours.
Yeah,
ago.
a little bit. And we're like, what is gonna happen? He's like, well, I need a clear stomach because to get that much in there. So then he grabbed the vodka something. Somebody gave it to him. He hung out with us the rest of the night. That had to be a rough morning for old Joey Chestnut. He had to get on a flight to California the next morning to go do an appearance. That had to be a rough night. But I never loved American hero Joey Chestnut more than in that moment when he took down 13 of them things.
I did find someone's angle of it.
Of Joey Chestnut?
Yeah, it's not ours. It's from someone tweeted it, but it shows it.
Unbelievable. Go ahead, put that. Look at this. By the way, New Year's Eve party, pretty electric. It was awesome. Oh, no.
Flip.
Oh, no. Everybody's got to turn their fucking head side to... Shout out $20 Chef Sean Latham. Getting the chant going. Uncle Todd McComas counting aloud. Look at this son of a bitch, dude. See, that's what I cannot do. Everybody's just looking at this thing sideways here. There was only one rule, which was don't walk in front of it, because we're going to try to get a GIF of this entire thing. $20 Chef Sean Latham was so pumped up, he's just started sprinting laps around him.
And those are 16 ounces.
16. Yeah. These are pints.
What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my.
Look at this thing.
It's a live look at Mitt's Saturday night.
Look at Sean. Oh, Jack, it's Sean. I mean, it was hard not to be jacked up about this, though. Last one. Can he do it? The man who ate 7,000 hot dogs in his life. 13 pints of beer in 72 seconds. Sideways look there.
2 days later, 18 pounds of shrimp.
Jeez Louise.
Warrior.
All right, back to you, Mitt. Let's get some minutes.
All right, Jet
Show's
started
over.
talking.
Show's over. You did great, though. You set up a conversation that was really electric. That boy, Molly. Hey, no errors. No errors.
Oh, yeah, okay.
No, he got it completely through. That's his first full game. Or
No.
game.
That's a DQ.
Except for who's fighting?
Don't do this to him.
Yeah.
Don't do this.
Who's that one fighter?
Who's fighting?
Who's fighting Stipe
Miocic.
Yeah.
Who is it?
Who's?
Oh, he's fighting who? Daniel Cormier?
Okay.
You called him Daniel earlier.
Oh, that was just
So
bad.
It was just a
that was
slip
just a bad pronunciation.
Not bad minutes. It wasn't bad minutes.
It was good.
All right,
It stunk.
we're 12 minutes past everybody's time that they probably allot to listen to me talk and the group talk a day. We apologize for running over. Shout out to Mullet finishing that thing. Nick Morello, great day. Diggs, great day. Ty, great day. Jason McAfee, great day. Zito, great day. Evan Foxy, great day. And Boston Connor, how do you feel about your day, pal?
Bad day.
Pat, you great day.
Great day.
Great day. Pretty good day today, I think. Pretty good show. If you like the show, tell a friend to subscribe to this thing. We're cooking up for our millionth subscriber giveaway. It's going to be our biggest giveaway we've ever done for any of our subscribers. So tell a friend to subscribe to the show. We're going to continue to build this thing. I hope. Might be making some big moves, too. I mean, the train has been ruled out.
No!
For the time
For
being.
the time being.
Okay.
But there is something else that's potentially about to pop off, and we're excited about it. We can't thank you enough for following along as we do this stupid fucking shit. You're the best. This has been Wednesday, June 10th. We'll see you manana.